rustle among the fallen leaves. The forest floor is still asleep, wrapped in the cool embrace of early dawn. A thin, silvery mist hangs just above the carpet of damp earth, softening the sharp outlines of old oak roots and decaying pine needles. Everything is quiet, save for the slow, rhythmic breathing of the woodland itself. The tall maples and ancient hemlocks stand like silent guardians, their branches holding back the last remains of the night sky. In this suspended moment, when the world is caught between slumber and the very first touch of light, a sound emerges. It is not loud, nor is it sharp enough to startle the sleeping birds in the canopy above. It is a gentle, dry rustle, a crisp, paper-like sound that rises from beneath a thick blanket of copper and gold leaves. The sound pauses, letting the silence settle once more, and then it repeats. Scritch, scritch, scritch. A tiny weight, lighter than a falling acorn, is shifting beneath the forest floor's colorful layer. The fallen leaves of the past autumn, dried by time and damp from the morning dew, shift ever so slightly. A small pocket of air is displaced, and a tiny disturbance ripples through the woodland floor. To the casual observer, it might seem like nothing more than a passing breeze or a rolling drop of condensation. But in the quiet theater of the woods, this tiny rustle is the very first sign of life stirring in the deep, peaceful shadows. A tiny tail disappears in an instant, just as the eye begins to adjust to the dim, gray light of the forest floor. A sudden movement breaks the stillness. It is so brief, so fleeting, that it feels almost like a trick of the early morning shadows. From beneath the curled edge of a large, dry sycamore leaf, a small form begins to take shape. For a fraction of a second, a slender, dark-striped back is visible, followed immediately by a delicate, feathery plume of a tail. This tiny tail, held at a jaunty upward angle, twitching with quiet alertness, is covered in soft gray and tan fur with a dark stripe running down its center. Before the mind can fully register the shape, there is a soft, almost imperceptible swish. The tail flickers, bends, and vanishes beneath the dark, mossy arch of an ancient cedar root. The movement is remarkably smooth, showing an intimate familiarity with every nook and cranny of this forest floor. The little creature moves like water, sliding through gaps that seem far too small for any living thing. One moment it is there, a warm pulse of life against the cold, damp earth, and the next, it is gone, leaving only the soft vibration of a disturbed blade of grass. The forest returns to its quiet state, but the air now holds a sense of secret life, a quiet energy that operates just out of sight. Whose footsteps were those? In the vastness of the forest, where grand deer tread softly on padded hooves and heavy black bears leave deep impressions in the soft mud, these minute footsteps carry a different kind of presence. They are tiny, delicate, and incredibly light, yet they possess a rhythm of absolute purpose. Who is this miniature traveler of the underworld? This silent navigator of the root systems and fallen logs? These are the footsteps of a creature that lives in a world of giants, where a single fallen branch is a mountain range and a puddle of spring rain is a vast reflective lake. The quiet movements belong to a master of concealment, an animal whose survival depends entirely on its ability to see without being seen, and to move without leaving a trace. Every step is calculated, every pause filled with intense listening. The tiny paws, with their slender digits and miniature claws, press lightly against the damp soil, leaving almost invisible markings that only the most observant forest dwellers could ever hope to find. This small seeker is not a creature of the open sky or the high, swaying branches, but a guardian of the ground level, a keeper of the earth's deepest secrets. As the light begins to filter through the trees, the mystery starts to gently dissolve, revealing the true identity of the forest's quietest companion. A journey that began millions of years ago. To understand the tiny creature shifting beneath the leaves, one must look far back into the deep reaches of natural history. This is not a new arrival to the northern forests, but the modern representative of a lineage that has walked the earth for millions of years. Long before the first human footsteps echoed through these valleys, the ancestors of this small rodent were already perfecting their way of life. Through ice ages and warming trends, through the rise and fall of ancient forests, their design remained remarkably constant and resilient. Fossils from the Miocene epoch reveal that these creatures had already developed their characteristic shape, their efficient teeth, and their specialized burrowing habits long ago. They watched the landscape change, adapting to the shifting flora and fauna with a quiet, persistent flexibility. Their survival over such immense stretches of time is a testament to the strength of their basic design. They did not need to become giant or fierce to endure. Instead, they became small, quick, and incredibly wise in the ways of the earth. Today's tiny resident carries the genetic memory of countless generations that survived by knowing exactly when to run, where to hide, and how to prepare for the cold times. Every soft step taken today on the mossy ground is a repetition of a movement performed across epochs, a beautiful continuation of prehistoric life surviving into the modern age. The origins of the chipmunk. This miniature resident of the woodland is the eastern chipmunk, known scientifically as Tamias striatus, a name that translates fittingly to the striped steward. The term chipmunk itself is believed to have originated from the indigenous Ojibwe word ajidamu, which translates to one who descends trees head first, a vivid description of their agile climbing behavior. Over centuries of linguistic evolution, the name transformed, but the essence of the creature remained unchanged. They belong to the squirrel family, Scurridae, but have carved out a highly specific ecological niche that sets them apart from their tree-dwelling cousins. While gray squirrels and red squirrels claim the high canopies, the chipmunk has claimed the rich, complex territory of the forest floor and the subterranean world beneath it. Over millennia, they developed their unique striped coat as a form of disruptive camouflage, allowing them to blend seamlessly with the sun-dappled patterns of the forest ground. Their entire physical makeup, from their expandable cheek pouches to their highly specialized senses, is the result of careful, natural refinement designed to help them make the most of the woodland's seasonal abundance. Across North America, these little stewards are vital to the ecosystem, distributing seeds and aerating the soil as they dig their extensive networks of underground homes. They are a bridge between the deep earth and the lower branches of the understory, representing a highly successful branch of evolutionary history that thrives on patience, alertness, and endless preparation. The beginning of a new spring now, as the morning sun finally climbs high enough to pierce the thick forest canopy. The golden beams strike the forest floor, warming the cold earth. The long, silent winter is drawing to a close, and the whispers of a new spring are beginning to spread through the trees. The snow has melted into the soil, feeding the roots of wildflowers like trillium and hepatica, which are just beginning to push their green shoots through the leaf litter. The air is cool but carries the unmistakable scent of damp earth, warming pine bark, and early blossoms. It is a time of profound renewal, a moment when the entire woodland seems to take a deep, collective breath and awaken from its long slumber. For our small friend beneath the roots, this morning marks the true beginning of a new cycle of life. The challenges of the past winter are gone, and the abundance of the warm months lies ahead. In the quiet chambers below, a sense of anticipation grows. The seasons are turning, and with their turn comes the promise of food, warmth, and new generations. As the first warm breeze of the season rustles the canopy, the tiny guardian of the forest floor prepares to step fully into the light, ready to play its essential part in the eternal dance of the natural world. Golden stripes across the back, If one is fortunate enough to catch a quiet moment with the chipmunk as it pauses in a patch of morning light, the remarkable pattern of its coat becomes clear. Running down its back are 5 distinct dark brown to black stripes, separated by elegant bands of creamy white and warm golden buff. This pattern is not merely decorative, it is a quiet masterpiece of natural camouflage. The forest floor is a complex mosaic of light and shadow, where sunlight filters through the leaves to create shifting patterns of brightness and dark. The bold stripes break up the outline of the chipmunk's body, making it incredibly difficult for predators above to detect its shape against the dry twigs and fallen leaves. The rest of its coat is a rich, reddish-brown color, fading into a soft, pale cream on its underbelly. This counter shading helps to minimize shadows beneath its body, further blending it into the earth. The fur is short, dense, and remarkably soft, offering warmth during chilly mornings while remaining sleek enough to glide through tight spaces without catching on rough bark or roots. Every line, every shade of ochre, charcoal, and cream is placed with purpose, turning this small mammal into a living part of the forest floor, a creature designed by nature to exist in harmony with its dappled surroundings. When the chipmunk sits still, it resembles a small, moss-covered stone or a piece of bark, demonstrating how simple patterns can provide safety in an expansive and unpredictable world. Bright, curious eyes. On either side of the chipmunk's delicate head sit 2 dark, shining eyes that resemble polished obsidian beads. These eyes are relatively large for its body size, a feature that speaks to its reliance on constant visual awareness. Positioned high and to the sides of its skull, they provide an exceptionally wide field of view, almost reaching 360 degrees. This allows the chipmunk to monitor the sky for hawks, the forest floor for weasels, and the tree trunks for climbing predators, all without having to turn its head. Around each eye, a pale, cream-colored ring of fur emphasizes its alertness, giving the creature a perpetual look of soft curiosity. While its depth perception is somewhat limited compared to predators, its sensitivity to movement is extraordinarily keen. Even the slightest flutter of a leaf 50 feet away, or the silent shadow of a passing crow, will register instantly. The chipmunk's eyes are designed for the twilight of the understory, capturing the dim light of dawn and dusk with remarkable efficiency. They are the primary window through which this small guardian reads the complex, shifting environment around it, guiding its rapid decisions and ensuring that its movements are always made with a clear understanding of what lies in every direction. This constant visual vigilance operates like a quiet radar, scanning the peaceful landscape and translating every flash of light or distant shape into a gentle, instinctual understanding of its home. Small, rounded ears atop its head, just behind the dark crown, are 2 small, rounded ears. Unlike the long, sweeping ears of rabbits or the broad ears of mice, the chipmunk's ears are compact and sit close to the skull, minimized to reduce heat loss and prevent them from catching on twigs when navigating tight tunnels. Despite their modest size, they are incredibly sensitive instruments. They can cup forward to capture the faintest whispers of the forest or flatten back against the head when the chipmunk is squeezed into a narrow crevice. Inside, a delicate network of fine hairs prevents dirt and debris from entering the ear canal while the animal is busy digging its subterranean home. The auditory range of the chipmunk is finely tuned to the high-frequency sounds of its environment, the rustle of an insect, the soft slither of a snake over dry soil, or the distant, high-pitched warning chirps of its neighbors. This acute hearing acts as an early warning system, working in tandem with its vision to create a rich, multi-layered awareness of the surroundings. Even in the complete darkness of its underground burrows, where eyes are of little use, these small, rounded ears remain active, listening to the deep thrum of the earth and the quiet rustles of the world above, ensuring that the chipmunk is never truly caught off guard. Through these delicate, fur-lined receivers, the chipmunk remains in constant conversation with the subtle acoustic landscape of the forest, turning vibrations into safety. Agile feet and sharp claws. Supporting the chipmunk's compact body are 4 highly specialized limbs, each designed for a life of agility, speed, and hard labor. The front paws are remarkably similar to tiny hands, possessing 4 slender, flexible fingers and a small, rudimentary thumb. These delicate hands are incredibly dexterous, capable of picking up a single seed of grass, turning a hickory nut to find its weakest point, or gently grooming the soft fur around its face. The rear legs are longer and far more powerful, built like coiled springs to propel the chipmunk in rapid, zigzagging leaps across the uneven forest floor. On all 4 feet, the chipmunk possesses short, curved claws that are remarkably strong and sharp. These claws serve multiple essential functions. In the earth, they act as miniature shovels, carving through packed soil, small roots, and clay with surprising speed. On trees and stone walls, they provide reliable traction, allowing the chipmunk to scamper up vertical bark or leap across mossy rocks with complete confidence. The pads of its feet are soft and fleshy, dampening the sound of its movement so it can travel silently, while also providing a rich tactile sense of the terrain beneath it, letting the chipmunk feel the texture and moisture of the forest floor with every step. This combination of delicate dexterity and raw digging power makes its limbs versatile tools, perfectly balancing the quiet needs of daily survival with the demanding tasks of building a home. Expandable cheek pouches. Of all the biological adaptations possessed by the chipmunk, perhaps the most famous and remarkable are its internal cheek pouches. These are not merely loose folds of skin on the outside of its face, but highly specialized pockets of muscular tissue located on either side of its mouth, extending down along its neck and back toward its shoulders. When empty, these pouches collapse completely, leaving no trace of their presence and allowing the chipmunk to maintain its sleek, aerodynamic profile. However, when abundance presents itself, these pouches can expand to an astonishing size, stretching to accommodate a volume of seeds nearly equal to the size of the chipmunk's own head. The skin of these pouches is dry on the inside, meaning that any food carried within them remains clean, dry, and free from saliva, preventing the precious seeds from sprouting or rotting during transport. This dry carrying system allows the chipmunk to gather and move dozens of seeds, nuts, or berries in a single trip, vastly reducing the amount of time it must spend exposed to predators on the open forest floor. To watch a chipmunk pack its cheeks is to witness a quiet display of natural efficiency, as it uses its nimble front paws to stuff seed after seed into its mouth, its face widening in a comical yet profoundly practical display of resourcefulness. This simple, elegant design transforms the chipmunk from a simple scavenger into a highly efficient harvester, capable of moving vast quantities of forest wealth with ease. A perfect balance for survival. When one considers all these features together, the disruptive stripes, the wide-angle eyes, the sensitive ears, the versatile limbs, and the expandable cheeks, a picture emerges of a creature beautifully balanced for its specific way of life. No single feature is wasted, and no part is overdeveloped at the expense of another. Its small size, often under 10 inches in length including the tail, and weighing only a few ounces, is not a disadvantage but a vital key to its survival. It allows the chipmunk to utilize resources that larger animals cannot reach, to find shelter in spaces too small for predators to enter, and to maintain a minimal ecological footprint. Its body is a finely tuned instrument, calibrated to respond to the changing seasons, the shifting light, and the daily rhythms of the woodland. In the grand tapestry of the forest, the chipmunk does not survive through sheer strength or ferocity, but through this exquisite harmony of design. It is a quiet testament to the wisdom of nature, showing how a gentle, small creature can thrive in a world of giants, using simple, practical adaptations to build a secure and peaceful life beneath the trees. As the afternoon sun begins to warm the mossy banks, this balanced little guardian continues its quiet rounds, moving seamlessly through the forest it was born to inherit. Every hair, every muscle contraction, and every breath works in perfect unison, representing a beautiful and quiet masterpiece of natural design. A nose that finds hidden seeds. Beneath the cool, damp leaves of the forest floor lies a hidden world of scent, invisible to human eyes but completely clear to the small, twitching nose of the chipmunk. This tiny pink nose, constantly in motion, is a highly sophisticated sensory organ. It is lined with millions of specialized receptor cells that can detect the molecular traces of food buried deep within the earth. As the chipmunk moves across the forest floor, it keeps its nose close to the ground, reading the soil like an open book. It can distinguish between a fresh hazelnut buried inches below the surface and one that was left from the previous year and has begun to rot. It can detect the subtle, earthy aroma of a truffle growing near tree roots or the sweet, sugary scent of a ripening blackberry hidden deep inside a thorny bramble. This sense of smell is also its primary shield against danger. Long before a predator comes into view, the chipmunk's nose can pick up the faint, musk-laden scent of a fox or the sharp, distinctive odor of a hunting weasel carried on a gentle breeze. By constantly analyzing the chemical signals in the air and soil, the chipmunk navigates its home with a quiet, invisible guidance system, ensuring that it always finds the nourishment it needs while keeping a safe distance from the dangers that linger in the shadows. This silent sense is the quiet guide that connects the chipmunk directly to the chemical heartbeat of the woodland floor, turning faint whispers of scent into clear paths of survival. Listening to every movement in the quiet ecosystem of the forest floor, sound is a constant stream of information. The chipmunk's small, rounded ears are always at work, filtering the vast symphony of the woods to focus on the sounds that matter most. It does not just hear, it listens with a deep, instinctual focus. The high-frequency sensitivity of its hearing allows it to detect sounds that are far beyond the range of human ears. It can hear the faint, dry scrape of a beetle's legs as it crawls over a rotting log, or the soft, sliding sound of a garter snake navigating a patch of dry grass. It listens to the complex language of the birds in the canopy above, learning to recognize the specific alarm calls of blue jays and chickadees, which often signal the presence of a hawk circling overhead. When a threat is detected, the chipmunk will freeze, its ears cupping forward to pinpoint the exact direction and distance of the sound. This ability to map its environment through sound is crucial for a creature that spends much of its life close to the ground, where physical obstacles often block its line of sight. By translating every rustle, snap, and chirp into a precise mental picture of the world around it, the chipmunk moves through the forest with a quiet confidence, always guided by the unseen vibrations of its woodland home. It is an acoustic shield, a delicate radar system that keeps the tiny creature informed of every minor shift in its peaceful yet dynamic neighborhood. Morning vision in the forest. As the golden light of the morning sun begins to filter through the thick branches of the hemlocks and oaks, the forest floor undergoes a beautiful transformation. For the chipmunk, this shifting light is a signal to begin the day's activities, and its large, dark eyes are perfectly adapted to make the most of this early transition. While they lack the highly specialized night vision of owls, their eyes are highly sensitive to the soft, scattered light of dawn and dusk. This allows them to begin foraging before many of the forest's larger predators are fully active. As the sun rises higher, their vision adjusts to the bright, dappled patterns of the forest floor. They can easily spot the contrasting colors of ripe berries, the rich browns of fallen acorns, and the subtle movements of insects. Because their eyes are positioned on the sides of their head, they possess a vast, panoramic view of their surroundings. allowing them to scan the ground and the sky simultaneously. This wide perspective is essential for identifying aerial threats, such as a hawk gliding silently between the branches. The chipmunk's visual world is one of movement and contrast, where every shift in light and shadow is interpreted with split-second precision, ensuring that the little creature can navigate its complex, three-dimensional home with grace and safety. In this way, the dawn does not merely bring light, but clarity, allowing the chipmunk to see its path forward with peaceful assurance. An exceptional spatial memory beyond the immediate senses of sight, sound, and smell. The chipmunk possesses a quiet, internal cognitive power that is just as vital to its survival, an exceptional spatial memory. The forest floor may look like a chaotic jumble of leaves, fallen logs, and identical-looking roots, but to the chipmunk, it is a highly detailed, familiar map. Over its lifetime, the little creature constructs a precise mental layout of its territory, which can cover up to an acre of land. It remembers the exact location of every oak tree that produces the sweet acorns, every patch of soil where mushrooms grow after a rain, and every hollow log that can serve as a temporary hiding spot when danger threatens. Most importantly, its spatial memory allows it to locate the numerous small food caches it hides throughout its home range. Unlike some animals that rely on smell alone to relocate buried food, the chipmunk uses three-dimensional landmarks, such as a specific mossy rock, a twisting root, or a fallen branch, to pinpoint its hidden treasures with incredible accuracy. This mental map is constantly updated as the forest changes, ensuring that the chipmunk always knows the quickest route back to the safety of its home, no matter where its daily adventures may lead. This mental geography turns a vast, confusing wilderness into a safe and predictable home, where every path is familiar and every retreat is already planned. Reading nature's signals. Survival on the forest floor requires more than just knowing where to find food. It requires the ability to read the subtle, interconnected signals of the natural world. The chipmunk is a keen observer of these environmental cues, reacting to changes in its surroundings with a quiet, instinctual wisdom. It can feel the drop in atmospheric pressure that precedes a heavy summer rainstorm, prompting it to seek the shelter of its underground burrow before the first raindrops hit the leaves. It reads the changing angles of the sun as autumn approaches, triggering the urge to collect and store food with greater urgency. Furthermore, the chipmunk is finely in tune with the behaviors of its animal neighbors. It listens to the sudden silence of the songbirds, which often indicates the silent approach of a predator. It watches the busy activity of ants and other insects, using their movements as clues to find hidden food sources. This deep connection to the rhythms of the woodland is not something the chipmunk has to learn. It is an innate part of its biology, a quiet understanding that has been refined over countless generations. By living in perfect alignment with the signals of the earth, the chipmunk remains a resilient and integrated part of the forest community, adapting to every change with grace and ease. It is a silent dialogue with the elements, where every whisper of wind and shift in temperature is a meaningful message guiding the chipmunk's daily choices. The first journey beyond the burrow. Armed with these finely tuned senses and its sharp instinctual awareness, the young chipmunk stands at the threshold of its underground world, preparing for its very first journey into the wider forest floor. For weeks, it has known only the warm, dark, and safe confines of the nesting chamber beneath the tree roots. Now, the cool, fresh air of the outside world beckons, carrying a rich tapestry of scents and sounds that are both exciting and unfamiliar. The little creature pauses at the entrance of the burrow, its nose twitching rapidly as it takes in the smell of pine, damp soil, and green leaves. Its dark eyes scan the immediate area, watching the way the morning sunlight dances across the moss-covered rocks. Its ears cup forward, listening to the gentle rustle of the canopy and the distant call of a thrush. Every sense is highly alert, working in perfect harmony to evaluate the safety of this new frontier. Slowly, with great caution and deliberate care, the chipmunk places one small paw outside the entrance, feeling the cool, textured earth for the very first time. It is a quiet, monumental step, marking the transition from the sheltered safety of infancy to the vast, beautiful adventure of life on the forest floor. A journey guided by the ancient wisdom of its ancestors and the vibrant magic of a new spring morning. With this single step, the entire woodland opens up, welcoming its newest guardian into the endless cycle of life under the great canopy. Temperate forests. The home of the eastern chipmunk is the ancient, temperate, deciduous forests of North America. These woodland regions are characterized by their dramatic seasonal transitions, where the canopy shifts from the bright, tender green of spring to the deep emerald of summer, before exploding into the fiery reds, oranges, and golds of autumn, and finally resting in the quiet, stark gray of winter. It is a rich and diverse ecosystem, dominated by majestic hardwood trees such as oaks, maples, beeches, and hickories. Beneath these giants grows a layered understory of dogwoods, witch hazels, and wild berry brambles, all contributing to a rich blanket of organic life on the forest floor. The soil is soft, dark, and thick with nutrients, formed from centuries of fallen leaves and decaying wood. This forest floor is not just a surface to walk upon. It is a thriving, living habitat, bustling with insects, fungi, and small plants that provide an endless source of nourishment and shelter. For the chipmunk, this environment offers everything necessary for a secure life. The abundant food supply provided by the trees, combined with the soft, easily diggable soil and the thick cover of fallen leaves, makes the temperate forest a perfect sanctuary, a place where a small creature can establish a territory, raise its young, and live in harmony with the seasonal rhythms of the earth. This rich ecosystem is a gentle cradle of life, where the towering trees and the tiny inhabitants exist in a silent partnership, each supporting the other across the passing years. Rocks and tree roots. Within the vast expanse of the temperate forest, the chipmunk must choose the location for its home with extreme care. It does not simply dig in the open ground, where its entrance would be vulnerable to the elements and the eyes of predators. Instead, it seeks out the protective embrace of natural landscape features, most notably the massive roots of ancient trees and large, moss-covered rocks. The base of an old oak or maple tree is an ideal location. The thick, woody roots spread out like strong fingers, gripping the earth and creating stable, sheltered pockets beneath the soil. Digging among these roots provides an architectural framework that prevents the burrow tunnels from collapsing under the weight of the ground above. Similarly, large stones and rock piles offer excellent protection. A heavy rock serves as an impenetrable roof, shielding the entrance from digging predators like foxes or coyotes, while also deflecting heavy rains that could flood the tunnels. These natural structures also provide excellent vantage points. A chipmunk will often climb atop a root or rock near its entrance to survey its territory, basking in a warm ray of morning sun while remaining only a split second away from the safety of its underground retreat. By integrating its home into the very bones of the forest, the chipmunk secures a peaceful and protected sanctuary. These ancient anchors of the forest floor become the pillars of its daily existence, offering a silent, sturdy shield against the shifting forces of the world above. Designing the burrow. Beneath the quiet surface of the forest floor lies an engineering marvel, the chipmunk's burrow system. Far from being a simple, straight hole in the ground, this subterranean home is a highly complex network of tunnels and chambers that can stretch up to 30 feet in length and reach depths of over 3 feet. The construction of this network is a labor of immense dedication, completed entirely by the chipmunk using its small paws and sharp teeth. The process begins with a single sloping tunnel. As the chipmunk digs deeper, it carefully carries the excavated dirt out of the hole. But instead of leaving a telltale pile of fresh soil at the main entrance, which would alert predators to its presence, it meticulously distributes the dirt across the forest floor, hiding it beneath dry leaves and moss. Once the tunnel network is complete, the chipmunk plugs the original digging hole from the inside and creates a new, completely clean entrance from below. This final entrance has no loose soil around it, appearing simply as a clean, natural-looking hole in the earth, often no wider than a 2-inch circle. Inside, the tunnels are kept clean and smooth, sloped gently to allow water to drain away from the living areas, ensuring that the interior remains dry, warm, and secure throughout the year. This invisible architecture is a testament to the chipmunk's quiet intelligence, a hidden masterpiece of safety and design buried deep beneath the bustling life of the woods. Sleeping chambers and food storage rooms. The interior of the chipmunk's burrow is divided into highly specialized chambers, each serving a specific purpose in the creature's daily life and winter survival. At the heart of the system lies the nesting chamber, a spacious room that can be as large as a watermelon. This chamber is the chipmunk's ultimate sanctuary, designed for maximum comfort and warmth. The chipmunk lines the floor with a thick, insulating mattress made of crushed, dry leaves, soft moss, and finely shredded bark, creating a cozy bed where it can sleep during the cool nights. Directly beneath or adjacent to the sleeping area are the primary food storage rooms, or pantries. These chambers are packed tightly with the autumn harvest, acorns, beech nuts, hickory nuts, and seeds of all kinds. In fact, a single successful chipmunk can store several thousand nuts in its underground pantries, ensuring a reliable food supply that will last through the long winter months. The chipmunk is incredibly neat, keeping its food storage areas separate from its living quarters, and even digging a separate, lower tunnel system to use as a latrine, ensuring that the living and sleeping chambers remain clean and hygienic. This orderly design makes the burrow a highly efficient, self-contained living space where the chipmunk can spend months in complete safety and comfort. It is a miniature palace of order and warmth, a quiet sanctuary where the abundance of summer is safely preserved against the cold, barren winds of the coming winter. Secret entrances. Security is the primary focus of the chipmunk's subterranean architecture, and this is most clearly seen in the design of its entrances and escape routes. A typical burrow system features several entrances, but only 1 or 2 are actively used at any given time. The main entrance is always masterfully concealed. It might be located tucked beneath a rotting log, hidden inside a hollow tree trunk, or camouflaged under a dense patch of ferns or wild ginger. To the untrained eye, these entrances are completely invisible, appearing only as natural gaps in the forest floor. In addition to the main entrance, the chipmunk digs several secondary tunnels that lead close to the surface but do not fully open to the outside. These are its emergency escape hatches. If a predator, such as a weasel, manages to enter the main tunnel, the chipmunk can rapidly navigate its familiar pathways, push through the thin layer of soil at the end of an escape tunnel, and burst out into the safety of the forest floor. During the night, or when the chipmunk is resting inside, it will often use loose soil or dried leaves to plug the active entrances from the inside, sealing itself off from the cold night air and preventing any unwanted visitors from detecting its scent or path. This layer of security ensures that its private world remains a fortress of peace, a hidden haven where the little creature can sleep in complete and undisturbed safety. The breeding season draws near. As the golden warmth of spring continues to seep into the forest floor, the quiet rhythm of the burrow begins to shift. The long winter of solitude and survival is over, and the air carries a new, vibrant energy. The chipmunk's underground sanctuary, which has served as a safe haven for one solitary individual, is about to become the birthplace of a new generation. With the arrival of the breeding season, the chipmunk, particularly the female, begins to prepare her home for the arrival of her young. She spends her days tidying the nesting chamber, discarding old, damp nesting material and carrying in fresh, soft leaves and fragrant pine needles to create a plush, warm bed. She cleans the surrounding tunnels, ensuring that they are clear of debris and easy to navigate. The air in the forest is filled with the calls of birds, the gentle hum of emerging insects, and the soft whisper of the wind through the budding branches. Deep below the roots of the grand oaks, in the silent, protected heart of the earth, everything is ready. The burrow is warm, the pantries are still stocked with the remains of last year's harvest, and the stage is set for the beautiful, ancient story of life to unfold once more in the quiet sanctuary of the forest floor. This peaceful transition from solitary refuge to cozy nursery marks the eternal promise of spring, ensuring that the legacy of the tiny guardian will continue to thrive. The breeding season. When spring fully establishes its hold over the temperate forest, a subtle shift occurs in the social behavior of these usually solitary animals. For most of the year, chipmunks are fiercely territorial, defending their burrows and foraging patches from all others. However, the warmth of April brings a brief period of truce. The males, driven by deep biological impulses, begin to expand their territory, leaving their own burrows to seek out receptive females. This search is accompanied by a unique vocal communication, a series of sharp, rhythmic chirping calls that echo through the quiet woods. These calls are not warnings, but announcements, carrying across the leaf litter to signal their presence. When a male approaches a female's territory, he does so with great caution. Reading the scent markers she has left on rocks and low-hanging branches, the courtship is brief, consisting of playful chases through the underbrush and gentle nose-to-nose greetings. These encounters are characterized by a quiet, instinctual understanding rather than conflict. Once mating is complete, the temporary alliance dissolves as quickly as it began. The male returns to his own territory and his solitary routine, while the female turns her full attention back to her burrow. She is now the sole guardian of the life that is about to develop within her, beginning her journey into motherhood in the quiet, safe depths of her subterranean home. This transient connection, occurring during the gentlest weeks of the year, is a vital link in the endless chain of forest life, ensuring that the ancient lineage continues. A short pregnancy. Inside the safe, dark chambers of the burrow, a quiet miracle begins to take shape. The gestation period for the eastern chipmunk is remarkably short, lasting only about 31 days. During this month of quiet waiting, the female's behavior undergoes a gradual transformation. She becomes more focused and methodical in her daily routines, minimizing her time spent on the open forest floor to avoid any unnecessary risks. When she does venture outside, it is with a clear purpose: to find high-energy, nutrient-rich foods that will support the growing lives inside her. She seeks out the early spring greens, tender young shoots, and any remaining high-quality nuts from her winter stores. Her body is a temple of quiet growth, adapting naturally to the demands of pregnancy. Inside her, the tiny embryos develop with astonishing speed, transforming from simple cells into perfectly formed miniature mammals in just a matter of weeks. The female spends longer periods resting in her comfortable nesting chamber, curled up on her bed of dry leaves and soft moss. The underground world provides a stable, temperate environment, shielding her from the unpredictable spring weather, the heavy rainstorms, and the lingering chills of the early season. In this peaceful, subterranean nursery, shielded from the complexities of the outside world, she waits patiently for the moment when her quiet sanctuary will welcome its newest, most delicate residents. Her quiet focus is a beautiful expression of maternal instinct, a silent preparation for the responsibility that lies ahead: the birth of the young. On a quiet, gentle morning in late spring, deep within the dark warmth of the nesting chamber. The female gives birth to her litter, typically consisting of 4 to 5 tiny pups. The newborn chipmunks are incredibly small, delicate, and entirely dependent on their mother for survival. At birth, each pup weighs only about 3 grams, roughly the weight of a single penny. They are born completely blind, deaf, and hairless, their translucent, pink skin so thin that the faint outlines of their internal organs are visible. They possess no stripes, no fur, and no teeth, appearing as nothing more than tiny, vibrating packages of pure life. Despite their fragile appearance, they are remarkably resilient. From their very first moments outside the womb, guided by instinct and the warmth of their mother's body, they crawl toward her, using their tiny, underdeveloped limbs to navigate the soft leaves of the nest. The mother sits quietly, curled around them to protect them from the cool air of the burrow. She gently cleans each newborn with her tongue, stimulating their breathing and comforting them with her familiar scent. In this quiet, subterranean cradle, far beneath the roots of the towering oaks, the miracle of birth is complete. It is a scene of profound tenderness and peace, a quiet beginning for the tiny creatures who will one day become the guardians of the forest floor. This gentle arrival, shielded from the elements and the eyes of the wider world, represents the purest essence of new life starting fresh in the heart of the earth. The first nursing immediately following the birth, the most critical phase of the pups' lives begins, their first feeding. The mother chipmunk gently positions her body to allow the tiny, blind newborns to find her warm underbelly. Guided by their keen sense of touch and smell, the pups search for her milk, their tiny mouths latching on with instinctual precision. The mother's milk is a rich, highly nutritious elixir, packed with the vital proteins, fats, and antibodies necessary to kickstart their growth and build their immune systems. As they nurse, a quiet hum of contentment seems to fill the nesting chamber. The warmth of the mother's body is just as important as the milk she provides, because the newborn pups cannot regulate their own body temperature. They rely entirely on the radiant heat of their mother and the insulating qualities of the nest to stay warm. The mother remains curled around them for hours at a time, her breathing slow and steady, her heartbeat a soothing rhythm that comforts the tiny lives clinging to her side. This intimate bond of nursing is the foundation of their survival. A quiet, daily exchange of life and energy that will sustain them through the first fragile weeks of their existence, ensuring that they grow stronger with every passing hour. In this deep, subterranean nursery, the silent devotion of the mother provides a secure harbor, shielding her delicate offspring from the harsh realities of the changing seasons above. The warmth of the nest. The nesting chamber is more than just a place of birth. It is a carefully managed microclimate, designed to maintain a stable, warm temperature regardless of the weather conditions outside. The thick mattress of shredded bark, dry moss, and oak leaves that the mother prepared serves as a highly effective thermal barrier. When the mother must briefly leave the nest to forage for food, she carefully covers her pups with a blanket of loose nesting material, trapping their collective body heat and keeping them warm in her absence. The pups themselves huddle closely together in a tight, wriggling pile, sharing their warmth and finding comfort in each other's presence. The temperature inside the burrow remains remarkably consistent, hovering around a comfortable level even when spring rains chill the forest floor above or unexpected frosts nip at the emerging leaves. This stable warmth is essential for the rapid development of the pups, allowing their bodies to focus all their energy on growth rather than heat production. Inside this dark, cozy sanctuary, the passage of time is marked only by the gentle rise and fall of the mother's chest, the soft rustle of dry leaves, and the slow, steady progress of the tiny lives growing stronger in the heart of the earth. It is an oasis of quiet comfort, a peaceful world where safety is measured by the soft touch of fur and the gentle, insulating barrier of the natural elements. The beginning of life. In the days that follow, the tiny pups undergo an astonishing rate of growth and development. Though they remain blind and deaf, their pink skin gradually begins to darken as the first pigments of their future coats begin to form. Within a week, the faint, shadowy outlines of their iconic stripes start to appear on their backs, a whisper of the adult markings they will one day carry. Their ears, which were initially sealed flat against their heads, begin to open slightly, allowing the first distant sounds of the burrow to filter into their quiet world. They spend their time eating, sleeping, and growing, their tiny bodies expanding rapidly under the care of their mother. The mother chipmunk is a tireless guardian, balancing her own physical needs with the constant demands of her litter. She watches over them with a quiet, fierce devotion, reacting to their smallest whimpering sounds with gentle, comforting touches. This is the true beginning of life on the forest floor, a silent, miraculous process of transformation that occurs far out of sight, deep within the rich, nourishing earth. As the forest above continues to blossom and hum with the activity of late spring, the next generation of chipmunks is quietly preparing to claim its place in the sunlight, growing stronger and more curious with each passing day. In this peaceful darkness, the steady spark of life burns bright, promising a beautiful continuation of the woodland's natural history. Opening their eyes. At around 30 days of age, a major milestone occurs in the quiet lives of the young chipmunk pups. Their eyes begin to open. For the first month of their existence, their world has been one of pure sensation, dominated by the soft touch of their mother's fur, the warm huddle of their siblings, and the rich sense of the subterranean nest. Now, a new dimension of awareness is revealed. The process is slow and gradual. Over a period of a day or two, the sealed eyelids begin to separate, peeling back to reveal the dark, glossy eyes beneath. At first, the world is a blurry, confusing mix of shapes and dim light. The young pups blink against the soft darkness of the burrow, their pupils dilating to make sense of the faint shadows. As their vision rapidly clears, they see their mother and each other for the very first time. They look upon the dry leaves of the nest, the smooth dirt walls of the chamber, and the dark openings of the tunnels that lead away into the unknown. Along with their newly opened eyes, their hearing has become fully sharp, and their coats have grown into sleek, perfectly detailed replicas of their mothers, complete with the 5 golden and dark stripes. This sudden flood of visual and auditory information sparks a deep, instinctual curiosity, prompting the young pups to look beyond the edge of the nest and contemplate the wider world that awaits them. In this moment, their tiny minds begin to connect the familiar scents and sounds of their home with the beautiful shapes of their physical reality, grounding them in the tangible world. Leaving the nest chamber, with their eyes open and their bodies growing stronger by the day, the young chipmunks find it increasingly difficult to remain confined to the cozy boundaries of the nesting chamber. The surrounding tunnels, which once seemed like distant, dark voids, now represent an irresistible invitation to explore. Under the watchful eye of their mother, the pups take their first cautious steps out of the nest and onto the smooth, packed dirt floor of the main hallway. This is their first experience with the wider architecture of their underground home. They scramble through the dark corridors, their small claws clicking softly against the clay walls as they investigate the various rooms of the burrow. They sniff the food storage chambers, learning to associate the scent of acorns and seeds with the nourishment they have received. They explore the unused secondary tunnels, navigating the gentle slopes and turns with a mixture of excitement and caution. The mother moves with them, offering reassuring nudges and quiet vocalizations to keep them together. In this safe, underground playground, The pups practice the basic mechanics of movement, running, jumping, and squeezing through tight gaps. This phase of exploration is crucial, allowing them to develop the physical coordination and spatial confidence they will need when they eventually face the far greater challenges of the outside world. These early underground excursions are their first lessons in geography, teaching them that the darkness of their home is not something to fear, but a structured sanctuary designed for their protection. The first steps outside the burrow. The day finally arrives when the young chipmunks are ready to take their historic first steps into the great outside world. Led by their mother, they climb the steep, winding tunnel that leads to the main entrance. As they near the surface, the air changes, growing cooler, fresher, and rich with the scents of blooming spring flowers and pine resin. A shaft of golden morning light pierces the opening, illuminating the tunnel floor and casting dancing patterns of leaf shadows across the dirt. The pups pause at the threshold, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the world that opens before them. The sky is an endless expanse of blue, the trees tower like mountains, and the forest floor is a bustling, vibrant landscape. The mother steps out first, scanning the area with her sharp eyes and listening intently for any signs of danger. Seeing that the coast is clear, she turns and utters a soft, encouraging call. One by one, the young pups poke their striped heads out of the hole, their dark eyes wide with wonder. They place their tiny paws onto the cool, damp moss for the very first time, feeling the texture of the living earth. It is a moment of profound significance, a quiet crossing of the threshold into the active life of the forest, where every leaf, rock, and breeze holds a new secret to discover. This gentle introduction to the sunlit world is a beautiful awakening, as the tiny guardians of the ground take their rightful place under the immense forest canopy. Discovering the trees. For a young chipmunk, the trees of the temperate forest are not merely backdrop scenery, they are massive, living structures that define the very boundaries of their world. As the pups become more confident on the forest floor, they begin to explore the bases of the ancient oaks and maples that surround their burrow. They marvel at the textured, deeply grooved bark, which appears like a mountain of wood rising up into the sky. With their sharp, curved claws, they practice climbing, discovering that they can easily grip the rough surface. At first, they climb only a few inches above the ground, scrambling up the roots before dropping back down to the safety of the leaves. But as their coordination improves, they venture higher, ascending to the lowest branches of the understory shrubs. From these elevated vantage points, they look down upon the forest floor, gaining a new perspective on their territory. They learn to navigate the horizontal branches, balancing with their slender tails and finding joy in the gentle swaying of the wood beneath their weight. These early climbing experiences are essential, teaching them how to use the vertical dimension of the forest for foraging and escape, and helping them realize that the trees are both a source of abundant food and a reliable refuge when danger threatens on the ground below. Through these playful ascents, the young chipmunks begin to master the physical laws of their vertical home, turning towering giants into comfortable avenues of travel. Playing with their siblings. Life for the young chipmunks on the forest floor is not all serious business. It is also filled with moments of joyful, energetic play. Near the entrance of the burrow, under the warm morning sun, the siblings engage in lively games of tag and mock wrestling. They chase each other through the fallen leaves, their small bodies appearing as rapid, striped blurs as they leap over twigs and dart around mossy rocks. One pup will playfully pounce on another, rolling together in a soft pile of fur and leaves, before scrambling apart and starting the chase all over again. This play behavior, while seemingly lighthearted, serves a vital evolutionary purpose. It is a crucial training ground for the physical skills they will need to survive as adults. Through play, the young chipmunks refine their agility, speed, and reflexes, learning how to make sharp turns, execute precise jumps, and dodge potential threats. It also helps them build strength and endurance, preparing their muscles for the demanding tasks of digging and foraging. The mother watches from a nearby log, her presence a quiet shield of safety that allows her young to play without fear, their soft chirps and rustling leaves filling the forest with the sweet, light-hearted sounds of a healthy, growing family. In this joyful playground of the understory, the bonds of siblinghood are celebrated through movement, turning natural instincts into refined physical skills. The beginning of summer. As the vibrant blossoms of spring slowly fade, giving way to the deep, lush greenery of early summer, the young chipmunks have grown into confident, independent juveniles. The forest is now a land of endless abundance, filled with ripening wild strawberries, tender green seeds, and a bustling array of insects. The canopy overhead has filled in completely, casting a cool, protective shade over the forest floor and shielding the young family from the heat of the midday sun. The pups no longer rely solely on their mother's milk. They have learned to forage for themselves, using their keen senses to find the best food sources near the burrow. Their days of play are gradually shifting into days of purposeful activity as they prepare for the next phase of their lives. The mother's role is also changing, transitioning from a constant caregiver to a gentle guide, letting her young explore further from the burrow with each passing day. The air is warm and filled with the steady hum of cicadas and the sweet fragrance of sun-warmed earth. In this rich, golden season of growth, the young chipmunks stand on the cusp of adulthood, ready to embrace the challenges and rewards of an independent life on the forest floor. Under the expansive, warm sky of summer, the young family thrives, their individual journeys beginning to take shape within the vast, interconnected web of the woodland ecosystem. Swift running. To watch a chipmunk move across the forest floor is to witness a quiet display of speed and precise mechanical design. It does not run in the lumbering, continuous manner of larger animals. Instead, its movement is a series of rapid, explosive dashes punctuated by sudden, absolute freezes. When the chipmunk decides to move, it lowers its center of gravity, pressing its body close to the damp earth. Its powerful rear legs contract like coiled springs and then launch the tiny creature forward with incredible velocity. It moves with such speed that its body appears as a streamlined, striped blur traversing the leaf litter. During these rapid sprints, its tail is held straight out or slightly upward, acting as a stabilizer to help it maintain balance and navigate the uneven terrain. The run is never in a straight line. It is a complex, unpredictable zigzag designed to confuse any watching predators. After a dash of perhaps 10 or 15 feet, the chipmunk will instantly halt, transforming from a high-speed projectile into a motionless, rock-like figure in a fraction of a second. This dash and pause rhythm allows the chipmunk to cover ground quickly while constantly re-evaluating its surroundings, ensuring that it remains highly aware of any changes in the acoustic or visual landscape of its woodland home. This rhythmic, controlled speed is its primary tool for traversing the open floor, turning potentially dangerous crossings into brief, highly calculated leaps of progress. Leaping across rocks. The forest floor is not a smooth, uniform path. It is a rugged, three-dimensional terrain filled with obstacles that would slow down a less agile animal. For the chipmunk, however, rocks, fallen logs, and deep crevices are not barriers, but stepping stones to be crossed with ease. When navigating a boulder field or a pile of decaying wood, the chipmunk utilizes its remarkable leaping ability. It approaches an obstacle, pauses for a microsecond to calculate the distance, and then launches itself into the air. Its body stretches out, its legs reaching forward to meet the target surface with complete confidence. The chipmunk can jump distances many times its own body length, easily clearing gaps between mossy stones or launching itself from the ground to the top of a fallen birch log. During these mid-air moments, its tail plays an essential role. By flicking and adjusting the angle of its tail, the chipmunk can correct its balance in mid-flight, ensuring a safe, stable landing on even the most slippery, moss-covered surfaces. Upon landing, its soft, fleshy paw pads absorb the impact, allowing it to transition seamlessly into its next movement without losing momentum. This effortless leaping turn of pace turns a difficult, obstacle-strewn landscape into a fluid highway, letting the chipmunk travel with speed and grace across the rocky bones of the forest. Each jump is a tiny testament to physical coordination, a quiet display of natural physics performed hundreds of times a day in the deep silence of the understory. Light. Agile climbing. While the chipmunk is primarily a ground-dwelling animal, its physical capabilities extend far above the leaf litter. It is a highly competent and agile climber, capable of ascending tree trunks, shrubs, and low-hanging vines with surprising ease. This vertical movement is essential for expanding its foraging opportunities and escaping ground-level threats. When climbing, the chipmunk uses its short, sharp claws to grip the textured bark, pulling itself upward in a series of rapid, scampering movements. It moves with a light, rhythmic touch, its body weight distributed evenly across its four limbs to prevent slipping. Unlike tree squirrels, which spend most of their lives high in the canopy, the chipmunk generally keeps to the lower understory, climbing to reach ripening berries, sweet seeds, or tender young buds on the lower branches of shrubs like wild blackberry or hazelnut. Its descent is just as graceful as its ascent. True to its indigenous Ojibwe name, it can descend tree trunks headfirst, its rear ankles rotating slightly to allow its claws to grip the bark securely as it moves downward. This climbing ability adds a rich, vertical dimension to its territory, providing the chipmunk with a quick, reliable escape route and a wealth of hidden resources that remain far out of reach for strictly ground-dwelling animals. In this vertical playground, the chipmunk moves with a quiet, fearless grace, turning the trunks and branches of the forest into natural extensions of its home. Hiding in an instant. In the unpredictable environment of the forest, speed and agility are invaluable, but sometimes the most effective movement is the act of vanishing altogether. The chipmunk is an absolute master of instant concealment, possessing the ability to disappear from view in the blink of an eye. When its sharp senses detect the shadow of a hawk overhead or the distant rustle of a predator, the chipmunk does not try to outrun the danger in the open. Instead, it utilizes its nearby surroundings for immediate shelter. In a single, fluid motion, it will dive beneath a pile of dry leaves, slide into a narrow crevice between two stones, or slip inside the hollow center of a decaying log. This vanishing act is so rapid and seamless that it can leave an observer wondering if the animal was ever there at all. Once hidden, the chipmunk becomes perfectly still, slowing its breathing and tucking its tail beneath its body to minimize its presence. Its striped coat, which was just a rapid blur of movement, now blends perfectly with the dark recesses of its hiding spot, making it virtually impossible to detect. This ability to transition from high-speed motion to complete invisibility in an instant is one of the chipmunk's most powerful defensive adaptations, a quiet shield of safety that keeps it secure on the forest floor. This sudden, silent stillness is a survival art form, where the line between the living animal and the quiet earth becomes beautifully and safely blurred. Returning to the burrow, after a successful period of foraging and exploring, the chipmunk's thoughts naturally turn toward home. Carrying its gathered food safely tucked inside its expandable cheek pouches, it begins the journey back to its underground sanctuary. This return trip is conducted with a heightened sense of caution. Because the stuffed cheeks make the chipmunk look slightly wider and can slightly affect its aerodynamics, it moves with extra care, relying heavily on its familiar established pathways. It navigates a pre-planned route that keeps it as close as possible to protective cover, darting from the shelter of one log to the next, and pausing in the shadows to scan the area before crossing any open patches of ground. As it nears the main entrance of its burrow, it slows down, performing a final, meticulous check of the surroundings. It climbs onto a favorite root or rock near the opening, sitting quietly for a moment to listen and watch. Once satisfied that no predators are nearby, it makes a quick, decisive dive down into the clean, circular entrance. The transition from the bright, busy world of the forest floor to the cool, dark peace of its subterranean tunnels is instant. Within seconds, the chipmunk is deep underground, safely unloading its precious cargo in its quiet storage chambers. This daily return is a comforting ritual, a journey that marks the end of outward effort and the return to the ultimate safety of the deep earth. The end of a summer day. As the golden light of the summer afternoon begins to soften, shifting into the long, cool shadows of twilight, the activity on the forest floor gradually slows down. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of amber, lavender, and deep indigo. The birds in the canopy sing their final, peaceful evening songs, and the cool air begins to settle over the damp earth. For the chipmunk, this natural transition marks the end of a busy and successful day. Deep inside its burrow, far below the cooling surface of the forest, the little creature is warm, secure, and ready for rest. It has spent the day running, climbing, and gathering, and its small body is now ready for sleep. The chipmunk curls up on its soft mattress of dried leaves and moss, tucking its nose under its tail and letting the weariness of the day slip away. The temperature in the nesting chamber remains steady and comfortable, protected from the damp night air above. In this deep, subterranean peace, the chipmunk drifts into a deep and restorative sleep, its breathing slow and rhythmic, matching the quiet heartbeat of the sleeping forest floor. Above, the stars begin to twinkle through the branches of the ancient oaks, casting a soft, celestial light over the quiet woodland, while below, the tiny guardian sleeps in perfect, undisturbed peace, ready to meet the dawn of another beautiful summer day. Warning chirps. Though the chipmunk is a small and often solitary creature, it plays a vital role in the shared communication network of the forest floor. It is not silent, rather, it possesses a rich vocabulary of vocal signals designed to protect both itself and its neighbors. The most common and recognizable of these sounds are its warning chirps. When a chipmunk detects a potential threat, such as a hawk gliding silently through the canopy or a fox slinking through the underbrush, it emits a sharp, high-pitched chip-chip-chip sound. This alarm call is incredibly loud and piercing for an animal of its size, cutting through the forest air like a whistle. Interestingly, the chipmunk varies its calls depending on the type of danger. A rapid, high-frequency series of chips usually signals an aerial predator, warning everyone to dive for cover immediately. In contrast, a lower, hollow-sounding chuck-chuck-chuck sound typically indicates a ground-based threat, such as a snake or a weasel. These alarm calls are not selfish acts, they are altruistic warnings that benefit the entire forest community. Upon hearing the chipmunk's warning, other small animals, such as wood mice, squirrels, and even songbirds, will instantly freeze or seek shelter. This acoustic alarm system turns the tiny chipmunk into a sentinel of the understory, a watchful guardian whose sharp voice helps maintain the collective safety of the peaceful woodland. Through these distinct acoustic signals, the chipmunk weaves a protective web of sound over its territory, ensuring that no threat goes unnoticed. A mother's call. Within the quiet boundaries of the family territory, the language of the chipmunk takes on a much softer, more intimate tone. This is best heard in the gentle, nurturing communication between a mother and her young. Unlike the loud, piercing alarm calls used to warn of predators, the mother's calls are quiet, low-frequency sounds designed to carry only a short distance, keeping her family's location hidden from the ears of predators. when she wants her pups to follow her out of the burrow or guide them toward a rich patch of wild berries. She emits a soft, rhythmic clucking sound, a gentle coo that reassures the young and gives them the confidence to explore. If she senses a minor, localized danger, she will use a sharp, quiet spit or a brief whistle that tells the pups to freeze instantly or retreat to the safety of the burrow entrance. These vocalizations are accompanied by rich body language, a gentle nudge of the nose, a reassuring pat of a paw, or a soft brush of her tail. Through this delicate combination of sound and touch, the mother guides her young through their early life, teaching them the subtle rules of survival without ever raising her voice to draw unwanted attention, establishing a quiet harbor of safety and guidance in the busy summer woods. This gentle dialogue is the comforting soundtrack of their early days, a soft tether that keeps the adventurous pups securely connected to their mother's wisdom. The voices of the young. Just as the mother has a specialized language for her offspring, the young chipmunk pups have their own unique set of sounds to communicate their needs and feelings. During their first weeks in the dark warmth of the nesting chamber, their voices are incredibly delicate, consisting of soft, high-pitched squeaks and whimpering sounds. These tiny vocalizations are used to signal hunger, cold, or discomfort, letting the mother know when they need to be nursed, cleaned, or huddled closer for warmth. As they grow older and begin to explore the tunnels and the forest floor, their voices develop more range and character. During their playful wrestling matches near the burrow entrance, they emit quiet, chattering sounds, a soft buzz of excitement that accompanies their chasing and tumbling. If a pup gets separated from its siblings or loses sight of its mother in the thick leaf litter, it will emit a clear, repetitive piping call, a miniature version of the adult alarm call, which helps the mother quickly locate and retrieve her stray adventurer. These youthful voices are the sweet, natural music of the subterranean nursery, representing the slow, steady development of communication skills that will eventually help them navigate the complex social and survival landscapes of their adult lives. In these small, developing squeaks lies the future voice of the understory, a quiet promise of a new generation learning to speak the language of the woods. Communication through scent. While vocalizations are essential for immediate and long-distance communication, the chipmunk also relies heavily on a silent, long-lasting language, the language of scent. Across the forest floor, the chipmunk leaves behind a complex network of chemical messages that can be read by other forest dwellers long after the sender has departed. This scent communication is achieved through specialized glands located around its mouth, on its cheeks, and near the base of its tail. As the chipmunk moves through its territory, it will frequently rub its cheeks against prominent objects, such as moss-covered rocks, low-hanging branches, and dry twigs. This action deposits a unique chemical marker, a personal signature that identifies the chipmunk, its gender, and its reproductive status. Scent markers also serve to define the boundaries of its home range, acting as a gentle, invisible fence that warns other chipmunks to respect its foraging territory. When two chipmunks meet, they will often engage in a quick, polite nose-to-nose greeting, sniffing each other's faces to confirm their identity and assess their mood. This olfactory dialogue is incredibly rich and detailed, allowing the chipmunk to maintain social order and navigate its territory with a quiet, peaceful understanding, relying on the subtle, enduring chemistry of the earth to convey messages of presence, boundaries, and identity. It is an invisible ledger written on the surfaces of the forest, keeping the peace among neighbors without the need for conflict. Quiet moments of rest. In the life of the chipmunk, silence is just as powerful and meaningful as sound. There are times when the most important communication is no communication at all, when absolute quiet is the key to survival and peace. During the heat of the summer afternoon, when the sun is at its highest and the forest floor is bathed in a warm, drowsy stillness, The chipmunk often seeks out a quiet spot to rest. It might curl up on a shaded root, tuck itself inside a hollow log, or retreat to the cool depths of its burrow. In these moments of rest, the chipmunk falls completely silent, its rapid breathing slowing to a gentle, imperceptible rise and fall. This silence is a protective shield, reducing its acoustic presence to zero and allowing it to blend seamlessly into the background noise of the woodland. It is also a time for deep listening. By remaining perfectly quiet and still, the chipmunk can dedicate its full attention to the sounds of its environment, letting its sensitive ears scan the woods for the faint, distant cues of its neighbors or the soft, warning rustles of the wind. This practice of quiet stillness is a beautiful, restorative ritual, a moment of deep connection with the silent heartbeat of the earth, where resting in silence is both a sanctuary of peace and a strategic triumph of survival. In this restful hush, the little creature becomes one with the deep tranquility of the forest floor, finding strength in the restorative power of quietude. A peaceful night. As the last rays of the summer sun fade from the western sky, giving way to the cool, dark canopy of the night, the forest enters a period of profound rest. The busy sounds of the day are replaced by the soft, soothing symphony of the nocturnal world, the gentle whisper of the night breeze through the pines, the rhythmic chirping of crickets, and the distant, comforting call of a barred owl. For our small chipmunk family, the night is a time of complete and undisturbed sleep. Deep inside the warm, secure heart of the burrow, they are curled together in a soft, cozy pile of fur, leaves, and moss. The mother's slow, steady breathing is a comforting rhythm that lulls her young into deep, peaceful dreams. No sounds are made in the burrow now. The silence is absolute, a quiet sanctuary where they are safe from the chill of the night air and the eyes of the nocturnal hunters that roam the world above. The cool moonlight filters down through the thick branches, casting soft, silvery patterns across the forest floor, illuminating the clean, hidden entrance of their home. In this deep, subterranean peace, the chipmunk family rests, their tiny bodies recharging under the protective embrace of the earth, waiting quietly for the first golden promise of the morning dawn. It is a beautiful and quiet ending to another day of adventure, a gentle reminder of the natural harmony that guides all living things on the forest floor into a state of deep, restorative slumber. Favorite seeds. In the grand tapestry of the forest, the chipmunk operates as a highly specialized seed collector, a tiny botanist of the understory whose survival depends on finding and cataloging the woodland's rich floral offerings. While its diet is diverse, seeds are the undisputed foundation of its nutrition. As summer reaches its peak, the forest floor becomes littered with a rich variety of seeds. Among its favorite targets are the seeds of grasses, wildflowers, and agricultural weeds. The chipmunk approaches these tiny treasures with intense focus. It uses its delicate, highly dexterous front paws to bend grass stalks, strip seed heads, and peel away dry husks with remarkable efficiency. It is particularly fond of the winged seeds of maple trees, known as samaras, which fall spiraling to the earth like miniature helicopters. The chipmunk quickly gathers these, using its sharp incisors to snip off the dry wings before packing the nutritious kernel into its cheeks. It also seeks out the seeds of coniferous trees, such as hemlocks and pines, which offer a rich, oily source of energy. Each seed is selected with care. The chipmunk can instinctively detect if a seed is hollow, damaged, or infested, discarding the poor ones and keeping only the premium, nutrient-rich kernels. This tireless harvesting is a quiet, meditative process, a daily rhythm that connects the small creature directly to the rich reproductive cycles of the surrounding plant life. Through this selective foraging, the chipmunk helps sustain the flora of its home, inadvertently planting some seeds while gathering others, showing the subtle harmony of the woods, acorns, and hazelnuts. As the season transitions toward the late summer, the forest begins to yield its most valuable and enduring treasure, the hard mast of the great trees. For the chipmunk, acorns, hazelnuts, and beechnuts are the gold standard of forest food, offering dense, high-calorie packages of fats and proteins that can be stored for months without spoiling. The chipmunk approaches a fallen acorn with great respect and purpose. It sits upright on its hind legs, turning the heavy nut over and over in its front paws, evaluating its weight and condition. If the shell is intact, the chipmunk will often use its powerful, self-sharpening incisors to rasp away the tough outer cap and nibble a small hole in the shell to test the sweet meat inside. Hazelnuts, which grow on low understory shrubs, are another prized find. The chipmunk will climb into the branches to gather these before they even fall, snipping them from their papery husks with surgical precision. Beechnuts, with their triangular, prickly shells, are carefully peeled to reveal the rich, oily seeds inside. These hard nuts are the core of its winter survival strategy. While softer foods must be eaten immediately, these dense, hard-shelled nuts are destined for the deep underground pantries, where they will remain fresh, dry, and safe, providing a reliable source of life-saving energy when the cold winds begin to blow above. Gathering this heavy harvest is a demanding physical chore, yet the chipmunk performs it with a quiet, tireless resolve, guided by the ancient wisdom of preparation. Wild berries. While hard nuts and dry seeds are essential for storage, the warm months of summer offer a sweet, immediate indulgence that the chipmunk cannot resist. Wild berries. The understory of the temperate forest is rich with berry-producing plants, and the chipmunk is an eager patron of this seasonal feast. From the early summer crop of sweet, low-growing wild strawberries to the midsummer bounty of wild blueberries, huckleberries, and blackberries, the little creature enjoys a vibrant, colorful diet. When foraging for berries, the chipmunk shows impressive agility. It will gently climb the thorny stalks of a blackberry bramble, navigating the sharp briars with careful, deliberate steps to reach the plump, dark fruit hanging at the tips. It plucks the berries delicately, enjoying the rich, sugary juice and the soft, seed-filled pulp. Unlike nuts, berries cannot be stored underground for long periods, as their high moisture content would cause them to rot and spoil the pantry. Therefore, these soft fruits are eaten immediately, providing the chipmunk with instant energy, vital vitamins, and much-needed hydration during the hot, dry days of July and August. This sweet harvest is a joyful, sensory highlight of the summer, a time when the abundance of the forest floor is at its most colorful and delicious, painting the chipmunk's muzzle in soft shades of deep crimson and purple. This transient feast is a beautiful reminder of nature's generosity, offering a sweet reward for the little guardian's constant vigilance. Mushrooms and insects. To maintain a healthy and balanced diet, the chipmunk requires more than just plant matter. It also seeks out the protein-rich offerings of fungi and insects. The damp, shaded environment of the forest floor is a perfect breeding ground for mushrooms, and the chipmunk is a skilled mycologist. It can identify and consume a wide variety of wild mushrooms, including species that are highly toxic to humans. It is particularly fond of underground fungi, such as truffles, which it locates using its extraordinary sense of smell, digging them up from beneath the mossy soil. These fungi provide essential minerals and unique nutrients that help keep the chipmunk's body in peak condition. In addition to mushrooms, the chipmunk is an active hunter of insects. As it rummages through the leaf litter, it will overturn small stones and pieces of bark to find beetles, caterpillars, grubs, and crickets. It catches these with rapid, precise snaps of its jaws, finding them to be an excellent source of pure protein and fat. It will even consume snails, carefully removing the shell to eat the soft body inside. This varied, Omnivorous diet ensures that the chipmunk receives a complete spectrum of nutrients, turning the forest floor into a rich, self-sustaining buffet where every layer of life contributes to the small creature's health and vitality. This opportunistic foraging shows its adaptability, allowing it to thrive in a complex web of life where no resource is overlooked. Gathering food. The act of gathering food is a highly focused and strategic enterprise for the chipmunk. It does not wander aimlessly through the woods. Instead, it targets specific areas of its territory that are currently yielding the richest harvest, moving with a quiet, methodical intensity. As it finds a rich patch of seeds or a grove of oak trees shedding their acorns, the gathering begins in earnest. The chipmunk uses its front paws to rapidly gather the food items, bringing them to its mouth for a split-second evaluation. If the seed is of high quality, the chipmunk uses its tongue to slide it into one of its internal cheek pouches. It repeats this process with astonishing speed, packing the seeds tightly into the muscular pockets on either side of its face. As the pouches fill, they stretch and expand, starting from the jawline and extending back toward the shoulders. The chipmunk's face visibly widens, taking on a rounded shape. A fully loaded chipmunk can carry up to 60 sunflower-sized seeds or several large hazelnuts in its cheeks at one time. This unique carrying system is a profound ecological advantage, allowing the chipmunk to harvest vast quantities of food in a short period, minimizing its exposure to predators on the open forest floor. Each full cheek pouch is a treasure chest, representing the direct, tangible rewards of its hard work and focused concentration. Returning to the burrow. Once its cheek pouches are packed to capacity, the chipmunk immediately begins its journey back to the absolute safety of the burrow. Moving slightly more slowly now due to the heavy and bulky cargo, it navigates the familiar, shadowed pathways of the forest floor with extreme caution, checking every corner before moving forward. It slips down through the clean circular entrance of its home, leaving the bright, warm world above behind. Once inside the cool, quiet tunnels, the chipmunk heads directly for its storage chambers. To unload its precious cargo, the chipmunk presses its front paws gently against its swollen cheeks, sliding them forward toward its mouth. This action squeezes the dry seeds and nuts out of the pouches, depositing them in a neat pile on the floor of the pantry. The chipmunk then uses its nose and paws to organize the new supplies, tucking them into the corners of the room or burying them beneath other seeds to keep them organized. After a successful haul, the chipmunk often takes a moment to rest and enjoy a small portion of its gather, cracking open a fresh seed and nibbling on it in the quiet darkness of its home, finding peace and satisfaction in the simple, orderly rhythm of its subterranean sanctuary. This rhythmic cycle of gathering and storing is the heartbeat of its daily life, a beautiful, self-sustaining loop of effort and reward that keeps the small guardian safe, well-fed, and secure under the great, green canopy of the summer woods. Filling the cheek pouches. The physical mechanism of the chipmunk's cheek pouches is one of the most remarkable design features in the natural world, a perfect blend of anatomical flexibility and practical function. These pouches are internal, lined with a soft, dry membrane that is completely separate from the digestive tract. When the chipmunk finds a rich food source, such as a patch of wild grass seeds or a fallen pine cone, the stuffing process begins. Sitting upright on its haunches, the chipmunk uses its front paws with lightning-fast speed, picking up seeds, shelling them if necessary, and pushing them into its mouth. Inside, its dexterous tongue guides the seeds past its back teeth and directly into the opening of the pouch on one side. It typically alternates between the left and right sides to keep its load balanced, stuffing first one cheek and then the other. As more seeds are added, the muscular tissue of the pouches stretches, expanding outward and backward along its neck and shoulders. The skin is incredibly elastic, allowing the cheeks to swell to a size that seems almost impossible for such a small head. Fully packed, the chipmunk's face takes on a wide, triangular shape, with its eyes slightly narrowed by the pressure of the expanded pouches, transforming the sleek little animal into a round-faced harvester carrying a heavy, precious cargo of potential life. This silent, efficient packing is a masterclass in natural resource transportation, allowing the little steward to move several dozen seeds in a single, quiet journey. Carrying supplies home. Navigating the forest floor with fully packed cheek pouches is a delicate and challenging task that requires a high degree of physical skill and constant vigilance. A loaded chipmunk carries a significant percentage of its own body weight in its cheeks, which shifts its center of gravity forward and can affect its agility and balance. Furthermore, the swollen cheeks slightly limit its field of vision and make it look larger and more visible to predators. Consequently, the journey back to the burrow is undertaken with a much greater level of caution than the outward foraging run. The chipmunk avoids any unnecessary open spaces, choosing instead a path that keeps it safely under the thickest cover of ferns, fallen leaves, and low-hanging branches. It runs in shorter, more deliberate bursts, pausing frequently behind rocks and logs to look and listen. If it must climb a tree trunk or jump across a crevice, it does so with extra care, testing the surface before committing its weight. Its movements are quiet and focused, a steady, rhythmic journey driven by the urgent need to deliver its treasure safely to its underground vault. Each successful return is a quiet triumph, a demonstration of careful navigation and deep familiarity with every natural shield of its territory. The heavy cheeks represent both a temporary vulnerability and a future guarantee of survival, a dual nature that the chipmunk manages with instinctual grace. Organizing the food cache. Upon safely entering the cool, dim sanctuary of its burrow, the chipmunk heads directly for its subterranean storage chambers to perform the satisfying task of organizing its harvest. To unload, the chipmunk places its front paws at the back of its swollen cheeks, near its shoulders, and gently presses them forward toward its mouth. With a series of soft, muscular contractions, it pushes the dry seeds and nuts out, letting them cascade onto the floor of the pantry in a clean, dry pile. Because the inside of the pouches is dry and free of saliva, the seeds emerge in perfect condition, ready for long-term storage without any risk of mold or premature sprouting. The chipmunk does not simply leave the food in a random heap. It is a meticulous organizer. It uses its paws to sort the items, placing larger nuts at the bottom or back of the pile and lighter seeds on top. It may also separate different types of food into specific corners of the chamber, grouping acorns together, sunflower seeds in another section, and dried berries elsewhere. This orderly arrangement is crucial, as it allows the chipmunk to easily locate and access different types of food throughout the winter without having to scramble through a chaotic pile, ensuring that its precious provisions remain clean, dry, and easily accessible. This quiet, underground labor is the foundation of its winter security, turning the physical efforts of the summer into a beautifully organized library of sustenance. Enjoying a meal. After the hard work of gathering and organizing is complete, the chipmunk can finally settle down to enjoy a quiet, well-earned meal. While much of its harvest is preserved for the future, it always sets aside a portion for its immediate needs. Sitting comfortably on its hind legs in a safe, quiet corner of the burrow or on a shaded rock near the entrance, the chipmunk takes a single nut or seed in its dexterous front paws. Holding the food item with both hands, much like a person holding an ear of corn, it turns it quickly to find the perfect angle. It uses its sharp, chisel-like incisors to pierce the outer shell, cracking it open with a soft, clean snap. The chipmunk then uses its delicate tongue and nimble fingers to peel away the bitter husks, exposing the sweet, rich kernel inside. It nibbles the food with rapid, delicate movements, savoring the rich fats and proteins that will fuel its active body. Eating is a peaceful, focused activity, a moment of deep satisfaction where the rewards of its daily labor are directly realized. The soft sound of its chewing is the only noise in the quiet understory, a gentle testament to the simple, nourishing relationship between the small guardian and the rich offerings of its woodland home. In this simple act of dining, the chipmunk finds a moment of quiet contentment, fully anchored in the rich sensory experience of its simple and natural food. Resting after feeding, once its hunger is satisfied, a deep, comfortable drowsiness naturally washes over the chipmunk. Its active body, which has spent hours running, climbing, and lifting heavy loads, now demands a period of rest and recovery. Before settling down to sleep, however, the chipmunk performs a meticulous grooming ritual. Using its front paws, which it licks clean, it thoroughly washes its face, paying special attention to its cheeks. The stretching of the cheek pouches during the day can leave the facial muscles tired, and the chipmunk uses its fingers to gently massage and smooth the fur around its jawline, helping the elastic tissue return to its normal, compact shape. It cleans its whiskers, rubs behind its ears, and grooms the soft fur of its belly and tail, ensuring that no dirt or scent markers remain to attract predators. Once clean, the chipmunk retreats to its cozy nesting chamber, curling up on its soft bed of shredded leaves and moss. It stretches its limbs, lets out a soft, silent yawn, and tucks its nose under its warm tail. In this safe, dark sanctuary, protected from the heat of the afternoon sun and the dangers of the world above, the chipmunk drifts into a deep, peaceful slumber, its body resting quietly as it prepares for the next round of harvest. This transition from intense activity to deep rest is a vital part of its daily rhythm, maintaining a healthy and peaceful balance between work and recovery. The end of summer. As the golden days of August begin to shorten, a subtle but unmistakable change starts to creep into the temperate forest. The deep, uniform green of the summer canopy begins to show the first faint, whispering hints of yellow and copper at the very tips of the maple branches. The mornings carry a slightly crisper, cooler air, and the dew clings longer to the ferns on the forest floor. The wild berries are fading, replaced by the heavy, ripening crops of oak acorns and beech mast. For the chipmunk, this natural transition is a powerful, instinctual signal. The relaxed, abundant days of summer are drawing to a close, and the great challenges of autumn are appearing on the horizon. The sense of urgency in its daily movements begins to grow, prompting it to work longer hours and push further into its territory to secure the remaining harvest. Yet, as the sun sets over the cooling woods, painting the sky in deep amber and purple, the forest floor remains a place of profound peace. The tiny guardian, well prepared and secure in its beautifully designed home, looks forward to the changing season with a quiet, ancient confidence, ready to play its essential part in the great, shifting drama of the natural world. The end of summer is not a loss, but a transition, a beautiful and necessary step in the eternal cycle that guides the forest and all its quiet residents through the passing years. Leaves begin to fall. The warm, languid days of summer have dissolved into the crisp, cool reality of autumn. Across the forest canopy, a silent, slow-motion explosion of color takes place as the leaves of the great oaks, maples, and birches transform into brilliant shades of amber, gold, crimson, and deep copper. With every gentle breath of the northern wind, a shower of these colorful leaves drifts slowly down to the earth, creating a thick, rustling blanket over the forest floor. This seasonal transition is a beautiful and quiet spectacle, a visual reminder of the earth's natural rhythms. The air is filled with the rich, earthy scent of damp soil and decaying wood, and the sunlight filters through the thinning branches in soft, golden columns that illuminate the forest floor in dramatic, warming patches. For the chipmunk, this transforming landscape is the ultimate starting gun for the most critical phase of its year, The open, clear ground of summer is gone, replaced by a complex, noisy obstacle course of dry leaves that crackle under the slightest weight. Every step must be calculated to minimize noise, yet the abundance of the season is too great to ignore. The falling leaves do not just represent the end of the warm months, they are a protective blanket, a rich, organic layer that hides a wealth of fallen nuts and seeds, welcoming the chipmunk to the great final harvest. In this golden theater of change, the tiny guardian moves with purposeful grace, a small, striped shadow gliding through a sea of copper and brass, gathering as much food as possible. Autumn is the season of relentless preparation, a time when the chipmunk's natural instinct to gather and store food reaches its peak. With the impending cold of winter ahead, the little creature cannot afford a single moment of laziness. Its daily routine becomes a tireless, non-stop loop of foraging and transporting. From the first light of dawn until the last shadows of twilight fade into night, the chipmunk is in constant motion, traversing its territory with focused, single-minded determination. It scampers across fallen logs, climbs low shrubs, and digs beneath the colorful leaf litter to uncover the newly fallen acorns, beech nuts, and hickory nuts. Its cheek pouches are constantly packed to their limits, stretching to accommodate 2, 3, or even 4 large nuts at a time. The physical effort is immense, with the chipmunk often carrying loads that weigh nearly as much as its own body, yet it climbs and leaps with remarkable resilience. The dry leaves on the ground crackle with its passage, a busy rhythmic soundtrack to its daily labor. There is no time for play or socializing now. Every individual is focused entirely on its own survival, gathering as much of the forest's autumn bounty as possible to secure a safe and comfortable winter. This tireless focus is a quiet display of dedication, a beautiful and natural response to the silent, shifting demands of the earth. Storing seeds. While large nuts like acorns and hazelnuts provide the dense calories needed for survival, smaller seeds are just as vital to the chipmunk's autumn harvest, offering a diverse array of nutrients and a reliable backup food source. The chipmunk gathers seeds from a wide variety of plants, including hemlock trees, pine cones, wild grasses, and late-blooming asters. The preservation of these tiny seeds requires a high degree of care and specialized knowledge. Unlike larger nuts, which have thick, protective shells, small seeds are vulnerable to moisture, which can cause them to rot, mold, or sprout prematurely in the damp underground environment. To prevent this, the chipmunk selectively gathers only the driest, healthiest seeds, often using its front paws to strip them directly from the dried stalks before they touch the damp soil. Once inside the burrow, the chipmunk stores these seeds in separate, highly protected chambers that are dug deeper into the earth, where the humidity is lower. It often buries the seeds in thin layers, mixing them with dry soil or sand to absorb any excess moisture and keep them perfectly dry. This careful preservation system ensures that the seeds remain fresh, sweet, and highly nutritious for months, providing a reliable and easily digestible food source that the chipmunk can rely on during the long, dark days of winter. Each dry seed represents a tiny capsule of pure life, safely stored away from the damp chill of the changing seasons above. Organizing the pantry. Inside the cool, dark recesses of the burrow, the chipmunk's pantry is a model of subterranean order and efficiency. As the daily harvest pours in, the storage chambers rapidly fill with a diverse array of forest wealth. The chipmunk does not simply pile the food in a chaotic heap. Instead, it engages in a systematic process of organization and classification. It uses its paws and nose to sort the incoming supplies, arranging them based on size, durability, and moisture content. Larger, thicker-shelled nuts like hickory nuts and acorns are placed at the very bottom of the piles or tucked into the back corners of the chamber, where they can sit safely for months without spoiling. Softer, more perishable items, such as dried berries, mushrooms, and tender seeds, are placed in separate, shallower alcoves where they can be accessed and consumed first. The chipmunk also practices a natural form of stock rotation, moving older, drier nuts to the top of the pile to ensure they are eaten before they lose their nutritional value. This meticulous organization is not just a habit, it is a vital survival strategy. By keeping its pantry clean, dry, and highly organized, the chipmunk minimizes waste, prevents the spread of rot, and ensures that it can find exactly what it needs in the dark, without having to disturb the insulating layers of its home. In this silent, underground vault, the abundance of the summer and autumn is beautifully transformed into an organized library of security. Preparing for the cold. As the golden leaves of October give way to the stark, bare branches of November, the chipmunk's preparations shift from gathering food to fortifying its home against the approaching cold. The temperature on the forest floor is dropping rapidly, and the first frosts of the season have begun to paint the leaves in delicate, crystalline white. Inside the burrow, the chipmunk works tirelessly to shore up the physical structure of its sanctuary. It deepens its tunnels, digging further below the frost line where the earth remains at a stable, comfortable temperature throughout the winter. It spends days collecting and carrying in soft, dry materials to reinforce its nesting chamber, adding layers of shredded cedar bark, dry moss, and oak leaves to create a thick, plush mattress that will trap its body heat and provide maximum insulation. The chipmunk also works to block any drafts or potential points of entry for cold air. It uses damp clay, soil, and dry leaves to seal off any unused tunnels and partially plug the active entrances, leaving only a tiny, easily defendable opening that it can quickly close from the inside when the heavy snows arrive. This structural fortification turns the burrow into an impenetrable fortress of warmth, a quiet subterranean haven where the cold winds of winter can never penetrate. Deep below the frozen soil, the little home is prepared to weather any storm, a cozy, self-contained world of complete peace and security. The first winter breeze. The day finally arrives when the transition is complete. A heavy iron-gray sky hangs low over the forest, and the air carries the sharp, unmistakable scent of snow. A strong, biting northern breeze sweeps through the bare branches of the oak trees, sending a final flurry of dry leaves dancing across the frozen ground. The first delicate, white snowflakes begin to drift slowly down, dusting the mossy rocks and the silent forest floor in a clean, soft blanket of winter. For our small chipmunk, its outdoor work is done. It stands at the entrance of its burrow for one final, quiet moment, its nose twitching as it sniffs the cold, crisp air and its dark eyes surveying the silent, whitening landscape. Satisfied that its preparations are complete, it turns and slips down into the clean, warm tunnel, leaving the frozen world behind. From the inside, it carefully pulls in a plug of soil and leaves, sealing the entrance and closing the door on the winter. Deep underground, in the absolute peace and darkness of its home, the chipmunk feels the chill of the outside world fade away. It crawls into its cozy nesting chamber, surrounded by its beautifully organized pantries, and curls up in its soft, warm bed, ready to begin its long, peaceful sleep as the winter wind whispers softly through the trees above. In this deep, subterranean sanctuary, the tiny guardian is safe, warm, and entirely secure, a quiet flame of life resting peacefully in the dark heart of the winter forest. Characteristics of the male. In the quiet world of the temperate forest, the male chipmunk represents a beautiful example of solitary independence and focused survival. Physically, he is highly similar to the female, carrying the same striking golden and dark stripes down his back, though he may sometimes be slightly larger or possess a marginally broader head. His life is characterized by a strong sense of territoriality and a quiet, consistent routine. Except for the brief mating periods in spring and summer, the male lives a completely solitary existence, defending his chosen burrow and foraging grounds from any other chipmunk who dares to trespass. He marks his territory meticulously, rubbing his scent glands against rocks, logs, and low branches to write his personal signature on the landscape. The male is a skilled explorer, often wandering further from his home than the female, mapping a larger foraging range and discovering hidden resources throughout the understory. His survival relies on his sharp instincts, his rapid running speeds, and his intimate knowledge of every hiding spot within his domain. This solitary lifestyle is not one of loneliness, but of peaceful self-reliance, a balanced existence where he is the sole master of his destiny, maintaining his home and his health in perfect alignment with the ancient laws of the woodland floor. Through his quiet vigilance and tireless efforts, the male ensures his own security, embodying the quiet, enduring spirit of the forest floor across the changing seasons. Characteristics of the female. The female chipmunk is a study in quiet strength, deep intelligence, and remarkable dedication. While she shares the same exquisite coloration and camouflage patterns as the male, her life is shaped by a different set of biological priorities that make her the true anchor of the species' survival. She is a meticulous builder, often designing more complex and secure burrow systems than the male to accommodate the future needs of her offspring. Her maternal instincts are deeply ingrained, guiding her to prepare the nesting chambers with the softest leaves and the most effective insulation. The female possesses a heightened level of awareness and caution, as she must protect not only herself but also her vulnerable young from the numerous predators of the understory. She is fiercely protective of her nursery, defending the entrance of her burrow with quiet courage. Her foraging is highly strategic. She must gather enough food to sustain her own body through pregnancy and lactation, while also stockpiling vast reserves of seeds and nuts to feed her growing pups. This dual responsibility of self-preservation and motherly devotion turns the female into a highly efficient and resilient guardian of life, managing her daily resources with a quiet, tireless focus that ensures the continuation of her lineage. She moves through the forest with a graceful purpose, her every action a silent contribution to the enduring circle of life that thrives beneath the great trees. Different roles. While the male and female chipmunk live separate, solitary lives for most of the year, their differing roles and behaviors are perfectly complementary, creating a beautiful and balanced system that ensures the survival of their species. The male's wider-ranging and exploring behaviors help to distribute the genetic diversity of the population across the forest, preventing inbreeding and encouraging the colonization of new territories. His presence also helps to keep the local ecosystem balanced, as his foraging activities contribute to seed dispersal and soil aeration over a larger area. The female's role, on the other hand, is focused on stability, preservation, and the intensive care of the next generation. She is the keeper of the home fire, maintaining the vital sanctuaries where new life can safely enter the world and grow. While the male faces the risks of the wider forest, the female manages the local resources with incredible efficiency, ensuring that her offspring are well fed and well protected. This division of labor, refined over millions of years of evolution, operates without any conscious coordination, a natural, instinctual harmony where the independent paths of the male and the female weave together to support the endless, beautiful tapestry of life on the woodland floor. Each plays an essential and unique part in the forest's ongoing story, ensuring that the quiet rustle of their presence remains a constant feature of the understory. The young become independent. As the warm summer weeks roll by, a natural and necessary transition begins to occur within the family burrow. The young chipmunk pups, who were once so small, blind, and entirely dependent on their mother, have grown into active, curious, and fully formed juveniles. Their play has become more focused, their physical skills have sharpened, and they have learned the essential arts of foraging, climbing, and detecting danger. With their adult teeth fully grown and their cheek pouches fully functional, they no longer rely on their mother's milk or her gathered food. The maternal bond, which was once so close and protective, begins to gently and naturally dissolve. The mother starts to encourage her young to forage further from the burrow, gradually spending less time with them and reclaiming her own solitary routine. This separation is not a harsh or sudden rejection, but a peaceful, instinctual progression. The young chipmunks feel a growing urge to explore beyond the boundaries of their mother's territory, a rising instinct of independence that prompts them to seek out their own paths. They are ready to face the world on their own, equipped with the vital lessons of survival their mother has taught them and the ancient genetic wisdom of their ancestors. It is a quiet, beautiful milestone, marking the successful completion of one motherhood journey and the beginning of several new independent lives. Leaving the burrow. The moment of departure is a quiet, momentous event in the life of each young chipmunk. One by one, driven by the powerful instinct to establish their own domains, the young juveniles climb out of the maternal burrow for the final time. They do not look back, nor do they travel together. From this moment forward, they are solitary individuals, just like their mother and father before them. They set out across the vast, sun-dappled forest floor, navigating a landscape that is both beautiful and challenging. Finding a new territory requires patience, caution, and a degree of luck. The young travelers must find an unoccupied area of the forest that offers both abundant food resources and suitable natural features, such as tree roots or rocks, where they can dig their own burrows. They must avoid the established territories of older, larger chipmunks who would defend their homes with vigor. During this period of search, the young chipmunks are at their most vulnerable, relying heavily on their sharp senses and rapid reflexes to avoid danger. Yet, they move with a quiet, instinctual confidence, their small paws carrying them forward into the unknown as they seek to carve out their own secure corner of the great woodland. This brave, quiet migration is the essence of life's expansion, a silent movement that ensures the forest floor remains populated with healthy, independent guardians. The beginning of a new life. After days of travel and careful searching, the young chipmunk finally finds the perfect spot, a quiet, unoccupied patch of ground beneath the massive, sheltering roots of a mature birch tree. Here, surrounded by fallen acorns and thick moss, the young explorer begins the monumental task of digging its very first burrow. It is a labor of immense focus and dedication. With its small paws, it carves into the dark, soft soil, initiating its own subterranean sanctuary. Over the next several weeks, it will dig the tunnels, excavate the nesting chamber, and begin the vital work of gathering and storing food for the coming winter. As it places the first dry leaves on the floor of its new bed, a profound sense of peace and security settles over the young animal. It is no longer a dependent pup, but a fully independent guardian of the forest floor, the proud master of its own domain. The circle of life is complete, yet it begins anew. Under the great sheltering canopy of the forest, the young chipmunk settles into the quiet rhythms of its new life, ready to face the turning seasons with the same resilience, wisdom, and peace that have guided its lineage through the vast reaches of time. In this new home, deep beneath the whispering leaves, a fresh chapter of natural history begins, written in the soft, steady beats of a new heart thriving in the safety of the earth. The first snowfall outside the burrow, the first heavy snow of winter has transformed the temperate forest into a silent, white wonderland. A thick, powdery blanket of snow covers every inch of the forest floor, burying the fallen leaves, the mossy rocks, and the low-hanging branches under a clean, cold mantle. The temperatures have plummeted far below freezing, and a biting northern wind sweeps through the bare branches of the oak trees, creating a soft, whispering sigh that echoes through the quiet woods. The streams and puddles have frozen into sheets of clear ice, and the active life of the summer has vanished. As the birds have flown south, and the larger animals have sought out their own winter shelters, yet, deep beneath the frozen surface of the earth, the world is remarkably different. Inside the chipmunk's burrow, the temperature remains stable, hovering comfortably above freezing, insulated from the harsh elements by feet of dark soil and the thick blanket of snow above. The heavy snow actually serves as a highly effective insulator, trapping the Earth's natural warmth and blocking the freezing winds. In this quiet, subterranean sanctuary, the cold world above feels incredibly distant, a silent reality that cannot touch the peaceful, warm world where the tiny guardian rests secure. This beautiful, quiet contrast between the frozen exterior and the warm interior is a testament to the safety and security of the deep earth. Long winter. Sleep inside its warm, dry nesting chamber. The chipmunk has entered a state of deep physiological rest known as torpor. Unlike larger animals like black bears, which hibernate continuously for months, the chipmunk participates in a form of partial, cyclic hibernation. During these periods of torpor, its body functions slow down to a fraction of their normal rates to conserve energy. Its heart rate drops from its active speed of several hundred beats per minute to a slow, steady pulse of just a few beats per minute. Its body temperature, which is normally around 98 degrees, drops to match the cool temperature of the surrounding burrow, sometimes reaching as low as 40 degrees. Its breathing becomes incredibly slow, with long pauses of silence between each soft, shallow breath. In this state of suspended animation, the chipmunk requires very little energy to survive, its body drawing only a tiny amount of fuel from its fat reserves. It is a state of profound peace and stillness, a deep sleep where the weariness of the busy summer and autumn is completely washed away. The chipmunk curls tightly into a ball, its tail tucked over its face to conserve every trace of warmth, resting quietly in the dark, comforting heart of the sleeping earth. This quiet, biological pause is a beautiful adaptation, allowing the tiny creature to sleep through the harshest season in complete comfort and safety. Waking to eat every few days or weeks, the chipmunk's internal biological clock gently prompts it to awaken from its deep torpor. This waking process is slow and methodical. Over a period of several hours, its body temperature begins to rise, its heart rate speeds up, and its breathing deepens, sending a warm, refreshing rush of energy through its small limbs. Once fully awake and warmed, the chipmunk stretches its body, lets out a soft yawn, and climbs down from its leafy nest to visit the adjacent food storage chambers. This is the moment when the hard work of the autumn harvest pays off. The chipmunk selects a few acorns or a handful of dried seeds from its neatly organized pantries, cracking open the shells in the quiet darkness and enjoying a simple, nourishing meal. This periodic waking and feeding are essential for its survival, replenishing its energy levels and ensuring that its body remains healthy and functional throughout the long winter. The food is dense, sweet, and highly satisfying, providing the vital calories needed to sustain its next cycle of sleep. After eating its fill, the chipmunk may take a short walk through its clean tunnels, stretching its muscles before preparing to return to its peaceful rest. This rhythmic cycle of waking, feeding, and resting is a beautiful testament to the planning and foresight of the tiny guardian. Returning to sleep. Once its simple meal is finished and its body is nourished, the chipmunk prepares to return to its deep, protective sleep. It climbs back into its comfortable nesting chamber, settling onto the plush mattress of shredded bark and dry leaves. It spends a few minutes grooming its fur, ensuring that it remains clean and dry, before curling back into its favorite sleeping position, a tight, warm ball with its nose tucked under its tail. Slowly, the physiological transitions begin once more. Its heart rate slows down, its breathing becomes shallow and rhythmic, and its body temperature gradually drops to match the cool, stable air of the burrow. The warmth of its cozy nest, combined with the insulating properties of the surrounding earth, cradles the small creature as it slides effortlessly back into the quiet state of torpor. This transition is smooth and peaceful, a natural surrender to the quiet rhythms of the winter sleep. The busy, sunlit world of the summer forest is forgotten, replaced by the comforting, silent darkness of its subterranean sanctuary. Deep underground, safe from the freezing winds and the snowy blanket above, the chipmunk rests in complete, undisturbed security, its quiet life preserved in a state of beautiful and peaceful suspension. This return to slumber is a gentle descent into peace, a rhythmic closing of the doors of consciousness as the earth cradles its tiny inhabitant. The quiet of winter. Throughout the long, cold months of December and January, a profound silence dominates the temperate forest. The busy hum of insects, the sweet songs of birds, and the constant rustle of leaves have been replaced by a deep, muffled quiet, as the thick blanket of snow absorbs the sounds of the woods. Occasionally, the silence is broken by the sharp crack of a freezing tree branch or the soft, whispering slide of snow falling from a pine bough. But these sounds only serve to emphasize the deep stillness of the resting landscape. The forest is in a state of necessary recovery, a quiet pause where the trees and plants rest their roots and prepare for the growth of the coming year. For the chipmunk, this quiet season is a time of complete security. With the entrance of its burrow sealed and hidden beneath the snow, it is virtually invisible to the rest of the world. No predators can easily find or reach its underground fortress, and the freezing winds can never touch its warm bed. This absolute quiet is not a sign of emptiness, but of deep, protective peace. A sanctuary where life is preserved in its purest, most resilient form, waiting patiently beneath the snow for the natural return of the sun. In this frozen, silent world, the tiny chipmunk is a quiet, steady pulse of life, waiting out the cold in complete and tranquil security, waiting for spring. As the long, dark weeks of winter slowly roll by, the calendar transitions into the late winter months of February and early March. The sun, which has spent months low on the horizon, begins to climb slightly higher in the sky, casting longer, warmer rays over the snowy forest. The first faint hints of the coming seasonal shift begin to whisper through the trees. On warm afternoons, the snow on the south-facing slopes begins to melt, sending tiny, musical trickles of water seeping into the dark soil below. Deep within its subterranean home, the chipmunk can sense these subtle environmental changes. The earth around its burrow begins to warm ever so slightly, and the moisture seeping through the soil carries the faint, fresh scent of awakening plants and damp earth. Its cycles of torpor become shorter and less frequent, and its body begins to prepare for the return of its active, sunlit lifestyle. The long winter of rest and recovery is drawing to a close, and the promise of spring is starting to stir the tiny guardian's instincts once more. Surrounded by the remnants of its winter pantry, the chipmunk waits with a quiet, peaceful anticipation, ready to welcome the first warm breeze of the new season and step once more into the beautiful sunlit world above. This quiet, instinctual hope is the heartbeat of the forest floor, a beautiful continuation of the endless cycle that promises life will always find its way back to the light. Melting snow. The long iron grip of winter finally begins to loosen its hold on the northern woods. High above the forest floor, the sun's rays linger a little longer each day, carrying a new, gentle warmth that penetrates the thick branches of the hemlocks. On the ground, the great white blanket of snow begins to undergo a profound transformation. What was once a solid, frozen expanse becomes soft and porous, pitted by the warmth of the sun and the rhythmic dripping of meltwater from the trees above. The silence of winter is replaced by the musical symphony of the thaw, the soft, crystalline tinkling of ice breaking, the steady plink-plink of water falling into puddles, and the low, distant rush of the forest streams awakening from their icy slumber. Patches of dark, damp earth begin to emerge like small islands in a sea of receding white. These first glimpses of the soil are rich with the scent of life, a deep, loamy fragrance of awakening roots and decaying leaves. The air, while still crisp, no longer carries the sharp, biting edge of January. Instead, it feels soft and expectant, filled with the promise of renewal. For the inhabitants of the subterranean world, these shifts are felt through the very walls of their homes. The moisture seeps through the earth, carrying the chemical signals of a world reborn. The chipmunk, curled in its deep nesting chamber, feels the subtle rise in temperature and the rhythmic vibrations of the melting world above. It is a time of quiet awakening, a transition from the deep, protective peace of torpor to the vibrant, energetic pulse of a new spring. The first trip, outside the moment of emergence, is a quiet, monumental event in the life of the chipmunk. Driven by a rising internal energy, it navigates the familiar tunnels of its burrow, moving toward the main entrance that has been sealed since the first heavy snows of autumn. With its small, agile paws, it clears away the plug of damp soil and leaf litter, feeling the first rush of truly fresh air flow into its lungs. As it pokes its head above the surface, it is momentarily blinded by the brilliance of the sun reflecting off the remaining patches of snow. The world is vastly different from the one it left behind months ago. The canopy is bare, allowing the full strength of the spring sun to illuminate the forest floor in shades of silver and brown. The chipmunk pauses at the threshold, its nose twitching rapidly as it takes in 1,000 new scents: early blossoms, wet cedar, and the musk of other animals stirring in the woods. It feels the cool dampness of the earth beneath its feet, a stark contrast to the dry, warm leaves of its winter bed. After a few moments of careful observation, it takes its first full step onto the mossy ground, stretching its limbs and feeling the warmth of the sun on its striped back. This first journey is brief and cautious, a re-entry into a familiar yet renewed territory. It is a moment of profound sensory reawakening, as the tiny guardian claims its place once again in the sunlit world, leaving the dark, safe silence of the winter behind, searching for fresh plants. After months of living on dry seeds and nuts from its underground pantry, the chipmunk's body craves the vibrant nutrients found in fresh, living green growth. The early spring forest floor provides a specialized buffet of tender plants that emerge even before the first leaves appear on the trees. The chipmunk moves across the damp ground with purpose, seeking out the first shoots of wild leeks, spring beauties, and trout lilies that push through the leaf litter. These early greens are succulent and packed with vitamins, offering a vital boost to its immune system and energy levels after the long period of dormancy. It nibbles on the tender, pale green tips with delicate precision, relishing the moisture and the crisp, clean flavor of the new growth. In addition to these early wildflowers, the chipmunk seeks out the emerging buds of low-growing shrubs and the tender bark of young saplings. This period of foraging is a quiet, rhythmic activity, a focused search for the building blocks of life. Every bite of fresh clover or a newly opened bud helps to replenish the reserves that were depleted during the winter cycles of torpor. As it moves from one green patch to another, the chipmunk becomes a vital part of the forest's early activity, its small, striped form a sign of the woodland's returning vitality. The abundance of the spring floor is a gift of nature, a nutrient-rich reward for surviving the cold, dark months of the year. Renewed activity. With the return of warmth and fresh food, the chipmunk's daily life quickly regains its characteristic high-energy rhythm. the sluggishness of winter is entirely gone, replaced by a restless, purposeful drive to reestablish its territory and maintain its home. The first task is a thorough cleaning of the burrow system. The chipmunk carries out old, damp nesting material and discarded seed husks, dropping them near the entrance to be scattered by the wind or used by other small creatures. It brings in fresh, dry leaves and fragrant pine needles to refurbish its sleeping chamber, ensuring it remains a cozy sanctuary for the cool spring nights. Beyond the burrow, the chipmunk spends its time remarking its territory. It rubs its cheeks against favorite rocks and tree roots, leaving behind scent markers that announce its presence to any neighbors. It also engages in vocal communication, letting out series of sharp, rhythmic chirps that echo through the quiet, budding woods. These sounds serve as both a claim to its territory and a way of checking in with other chipmunks who are also emerging from their winter sleep. The forest floor is now a busy highway of activity, as the chipmunk scampers across fallen logs and darts between emerging ferns. This renewed energy is the heartbeat of the spring, a vibrant display of life reasserting itself after the long pause of winter, ensuring that the guardian's domain remains orderly, secure, and full of life. The beginning of another season. As the days continue to warm and the forest floor turns from brown to a lush, vibrant green, the season of renewal reaches its peak. This is a time of social awakening as well as physical activity. The chipmunk, usually a solitary and territorial creature, begins to show interest in the presence of others. The air is filled with the calls of returning songbirds, robins, blue jays, and chickadees, whose songs provide a melodic backdrop to the chipmunk's own rhythmic chirping. The first insects of the year, including early butterflies and buzzing bumblebees, start to appear, adding their own motion to the scene. For the chipmunk, this period marks the beginning of the annual breeding cycle. Males wander further into neighboring territories, using their keen sense of smell to locate females. These encounters are brief and instinctual, characterized by rapid chases and soft, chattering vocalizations. In the background, the trees are undergoing their own miracle, as the buds of the oaks and maples swell and begin to burst into tiny, pale green leaves. The entire woodland feels like it is holding its breath, poised on the edge of the great, explosive growth of summer. The chipmunk is an integral part of this transition, its life woven into the very fabric of the seasonal change. This beginning is a beautiful continuation of an ancient story, a quiet assurance that the cycles of the earth will always provide a new stage for the tiny guardian to thrive upon. The cycle continues. By the time the last patches of snow have completely vanished and the forest is fully carpeted in wildflowers, the chipmunk has firmly settled into the routine of the new year. The urgency of the early spring thaw has shifted into the steady, productive rhythm of a mature season. The burrow is clean, the territory is marked, and the first mating period of the year has passed. The cycle of life, which was held in a quiet, icy suspension during the winter, is now flowing with full, unbridled force. The chipmunk looks out upon its domain from a favorite sun-warmed rock, its dark eyes reflecting the vibrant, green world that surrounds it. It knows where the best seeds will fall, where the first berries will ripen, and where the safest hiding spots are located within the thickening undergrowth. This deep, instinctual knowledge is the foundation of its resilience. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, casting long, warm shadows across the moss, the chipmunk prepares for the coming abundance of summer. The journey of the new year is well underway, a beautiful repetition of the countless springs that have come before. There is a profound peace in this continuity, a sense of rightness in the way the small creature and the grand forest move together through time. The tiny guardian of the forest floor remains a steadfast and vital presence, a quiet witness to the eternal promise of the turning seasons and the enduring strength of the natural world. mastering the art of gathering food. As the chipmunk enters its years of maturity, it becomes a true master of its environment. The frantic, sometimes clumsy movements of its youth have been replaced by a refined efficiency that allows it to navigate the forest floor with a minimal expenditure of energy. It has learned the precise timing of the woodland's bounty, knowing exactly when the red maples will drop their winged seeds or which patch of wild strawberries will ripen first after a summer rain. When it forages, every movement is purposeful. It no longer wanders aimlessly but moves in direct, calculated lines between the most productive food sources and the safety of its burrow. Its ability to pack its cheek pouches has reached a level of surgical precision. It can husk a sunflower seed or strip the cap from an acorn in a fraction of a second, tucking the treasures away with a rhythmic speed that is almost too fast for the human eye to follow. This mastery is not just about speed, it is about judgment. An experienced chipmunk can tell at a glance which nuts are hollow or infested with insects, saving valuable space in its pouches for only the highest quality provisions. This seasoned wisdom ensures that its underground pantries are always stocked with the finest sustenance, providing a secure foundation for its health and longevity. In the quiet theater of the forest, the mature chipmunk stands as an expert harvester, a small but powerful example of how experience and instinct combine to create a life of successful and peaceful abundance. Knowing every corner of the forest. For the mature chipmunk, the territory it calls home is more than just a patch of ground. It is a deeply familiar, three-dimensional landscape etched into its memory. Over the passing years, it has explored every square inch of its acre of woodland, creating a mental map of incredible detail. It knows the exact texture of the bark on the old leaning birch tree, the depth of the crevice behind the mossy granite boulder, and the way the shadows shift across the fern glen as the afternoon progresses. This intimate geography is its greatest defense. When a hawk's shadow flickers across the ground, the chipmunk doesn't have to search for safety. It already knows the closest hollow log or stone gap within a 3-foot radius. It uses landmarks with effortless ease, a twisting root, a specific patch of wintergreen, or a fallen branch to guide its high-speed sprints and its return journeys with full cheeks. This spatial knowledge also allows it to manage its numerous small food caches scattered throughout the territory. It remembers where it buried a handful of hickory nuts weeks ago, even if they are covered by a fresh layer of fallen leaves. This mental clarity turns the complex, often chaotic forest floor into a predictable and secure sanctuary. The chipmunk moves with a quiet confidence, its feet finding familiar purchase on the roots and stones it has traversed thousands of times. Its world is a safe and well-known harbor, a place where the guardian feels a profound sense of belonging and peace. Protecting the burrow. In its years of maturity, the chipmunk's focus on the security of its subterranean home becomes even more pronounced. The burrow is no longer just a place to sleep. It is a fortress, a nursery, and a lifelong sanctuary that requires constant vigilance and maintenance. The mature chipmunk is always on the lookout for signs of intrusion or wear. It meticulously grooms the entrance, ensuring that the surrounding leaves and moss appear natural and undisturbed. If a heavy rainstorm washes soil into the tunnels, it spends hours clearing the debris and reinforcing the walls with fresh, packed clay. The chipmunk is also acutely aware of its neighbors. It monitors the movements of other chipmunks, using sharp chirps and bold postures to defend the boundaries of its home range. It has learned to identify the subtle sense of potential threats, the musk of a weasel or the sharp odor of a prowling cat, long before they pose an immediate danger. If a predator lingers too close to an entrance, the chipmunk will often stay deep within its tunnels or use one of its many hidden escape hatches to emerge safely elsewhere. This proactive defense is not driven by fear, but by a calm, seasoned instinct for self-preservation. By maintaining the integrity of its burrow and staying alert to the shifting energy of the forest floor, the mature guardian ensures that its private world remains a place of absolute and undisturbed tranquility. a hidden haven in the heart of the great woods, living through the seasons. The mature chipmunk has become a seasoned veteran of the forest's dramatic seasonal shifts. It no longer reacts to the first frost with surprise or the summer heat with distress. Instead, it transitions between the seasons with a quiet, practiced ease. It understands the rhythm of the year as a series of predictable opportunities. In the humid heat of July, it knows to limit its activity to the cool shadows of dawn and dusk, resting in the deep, temperature-regulated chambers of its burrow during the midday sun. In the crisp air of October, it recognizes the rising urgency of the harvest, working with a tireless but controlled focus to gather the winter stores. It has experienced the heavy snows that bury the forest in white and the torrential spring rains that turn the ground into a muddy landscape. Through each transition, its body and behavior adapt naturally. Its coat thickens in response to the cooling air, and its metabolism shifts as the availability of food changes. This adaptability is the key to its resilience. It doesn't fight against the elements, but flows with them, using the changing conditions to its advantage. Whether it is basking on a sun-warmed rock in spring or curled in a ball during a winter blizzard, the mature chipmunk remains a calm and centered presence, a creature that has mastered the art of living in perfect harmony with the ever-turning wheel of the natural world. Peaceful days. During its prime years, the life of the chipmunk is characterized by a series of peaceful, well-ordered days. A typical morning begins with the first soft light filtering through the trees. The chipmunk emerges from its burrow, takes a moment to scan the area, and then begins its first foraging run of the day. There is a deep satisfaction in this routine, the cool touch of the dew-drenched moss, the sweet flavor of a sun-ripened berry, and the rhythmic sound of its own movement through the leaves. The day is a sequence of small, successful tasks, filling the pouches, organized storage, a brief period of grooming, and a midday rest in a favorite shaded spot. Between these activities, there are moments of quiet observation. The chipmunk might sit perfectly still on a fallen log for several minutes, watching the flight of a dragonfly or listening to the distant drumming of a woodpecker. These pauses are not wasted time. They are moments of deep connection with the forest's peaceful energy. In this mature stage of life, the struggle for survival has become a comfortable, familiar dance. The chipmunk is healthy, secure, and well integrated into the woodland community. Its days are full but unhurried, reflecting a beautiful balance between productive effort and restorative rest. This quiet, daily contentment is the true reward of a life lived well on the forest floor, a testament to the simple and profound beauty of the natural order. The passing years. As the seasons continue to turn and the years go by, the chipmunk remains a steadfast and familiar figure in its corner of the woods. It has seen the trees grow taller, the fallen logs decay into rich soil, and new generations of birds and animals claim their places in the forest. While it is still strong and agile, the passage of time begins to write its story in subtle ways. Its golden stripes remain bright, but there is a quiet, seasoned grace in its movements that only comes with age. It has survived hawks, foxes, and the harshest winters, each challenge leaving it wiser and more attuned to the forest's secrets. The mature chipmunk has reached a state of ultimate familiarity with its world. It no longer needs to test its boundaries or prove its strength. It simply exists as a vital and integrated part of the ecosystem. It has raised several litters of young, sending them out into the forest to continue the lineage. Now, as it looks forward to the later stages of its journey, it does so with a sense of quiet accomplishment. The forest floor has been its playground, its workshop, and its sanctuary. It has played its part as a steward of the earth, dispersing seeds and maintaining the soil. ensuring that the forest thrives long into the future. In the soft, fading light of a late summer afternoon, the mature guardian sits peacefully, a tiny but significant life that has embraced every season with a resilient and quiet heart. A blooming spring. The wheel of the year turns once again, bringing with it the soft, insistent touch of a new spring. For the chipmunk, this is a season of familiar magic, a time when the world sheds its winter white for a vibrant, waking green. The forest floor becomes a living tapestry as the trilliums and violets push through the dark, moist earth, their delicate petals opening to catch the first warm rays of the sun. The air is thick with the scent of damp moss and the sweet, resinous fragrance of budding pines. In this season of rebirth, the chipmunk moves with a practiced joy. It navigates the emerging ferns and the budding hazelnut shrubs, enjoying the tender shoots that provide a refreshing contrast to its winter diet of dry seeds. Every morning is a symphony of bird calls and the gentle hum of returning insects, a sensory celebration that signals the end of the long dormancy. The chipmunk's burrow, once a silent winter fortress, is now a busy hub of spring cleaning and preparation. It carries out the remnants of its winter stores, making room for the new season's abundance. There is a profound sense of continuity in this blooming landscape. The same oaks that provided last year's acorns are now swelling with new life, and the same mossy rocks offer their familiar warmth for the morning's basking. In this blooming spring, the chipmunk is a vital part of the woodland's pulse. It stripes a golden blur against the fresh, green carpet of the forest floor, embracing the new beginning with a heart full of ancient, instinctual peace. A fruitful summer. As the spring blossoms fade, the forest settles into the deep, lush maturity of summer. The canopy overhead has closed completely, creating a vast green cathedral that filters the sunlight into soft, moving patterns of gold and emerald. This is the season of fruitful abundance, a time when the forest floor offers a constant banquet for the tiny guardian. The chipmunk moves through the cool, shaded understory, finding wild strawberries tucked near old logs and ripening blueberries on low-hanging branches. The long, warm days are filled with the steady, hypnotic drone of cicadas and the occasional, sleepy call of a wood thrush. The chipmunk's routine is now one of comfortable efficiency. It spends the warm midday hours in the cool, temperature-regulated depths of its burrow, emerging in the gentle light of early morning and late afternoon to gather the season's bounty. The earth is warm and dry, making the digging of new tunnels or the maintenance of existing ones a peaceful, rhythmic task. There is a deep satisfaction in the summer harvest, the juice of a ripe berry, the crunch of a tender beetle, and the weight of a full cheek pouch. The forest is alive with energy, yet it feels profoundly still, a paradox of nature that the chipmunk understands perfectly. In this fruitful summer, the little creature thrives in the heart of plenty, its life a quiet reflection of the woodland's generous spirit, moving with grace through the golden light of the year's longest days. A golden autumn, when the first cool breezes of September begin to whisper through the trees, the forest prepares for its most dramatic transformation. The green canopy dissolves into a spectacular fire of gold, crimson, and burnt orange, and the air takes on a crisp, invigorating edge. This is the golden autumn, the season of the great harvest, and the chipmunk responds with an intensified sense of purpose. The forest floor is now a noisy, rustling sea of dry leaves, crackling with every step the little creature takes. The bounty of the great trees, the heavy acorns, the triangular beech nuts, and the rich hickory nuts falls in a steady, rhythmic rain, providing the raw materials for winter survival. The chipmunk's days are long and focused as it works to fill its subterranean pantries to their absolute limits. There is a beautiful, rustic quality to this season, the smell of wood smoke from distant chimneys, the sight of migrating geese high above, and the low, golden angle of the afternoon sun. The chipmunk navigates this changing world with a deep, seasoned wisdom, knowing which nuts will last the longest and where the best foraging patches are located. This is the season of preparation, a time when the hard work of the day ensures the peace of the coming night. As the golden leaves drift slowly to the earth, the chipmunk remains a steadfast steward of the forest floor, its life a testament to the enduring power of foresight and the quiet beauty of a harvest well earned. A white winter. The autumn fire eventually burns out, leaving the forest stark, silent, and gray under the heavy clouds of December. Then, the snow arrives, falling in large, silent flakes that transform the woodland into a pristine, white sanctuary. The world becomes muffled and still, as if the forest itself has taken a deep, collective breath and fallen into a long slumber. Far beneath the frozen surface, the chipmunk is tucked away in its warm, secret world. Its burrow is a fortress of peace, insulated by the deep earth and the thick blanket of snow above. The white winter is a season of profound rest, a time when the chipmunk's body slows its pace to match the quiet heartbeat of the sleeping earth. Inside the nesting chamber, the air is still and warm, smelling of dry leaves and cedar bark. The chipmunk wakes periodically to visit its organized pantries, enjoying a meal of the nuts and seeds it gathered during the frantic days of autumn. These moments of wakefulness are quiet and meditative, a slow-motion existence where time seems to lose its meaning. Outside, the wind may howl through the bare branches and the frost may bite deep into the soil, but within the burrow, there is only safety and warmth. This white winter is not a time of hardship, but a necessary pause, a beautiful and quiet interval that allows the earth and its tiny inhabitant to recharge for the year to come. In this deep subterranean sanctuary, the chipmunk rests in complete, undisturbed security, a small spark of life waiting patiently in the dark for the return of the sun. Nature's endless cycle through the passing of these seasons, the blooming, the fruiting, the harvest, and the rest, the chipmunk has come to embody the very essence of nature's endless cycle. It has watched the sun rise and set over the same mossy logs hundreds of times, and it has felt the rhythmic heartbeat of the forest floor through every weather pattern the sky can offer. To the chipmunk, the seasons are not separate events, but a continuous, flowing ribbon of time, each phase leading naturally and inevitably into the next. This reliability is the foundation of its peace. It does not fear the coming winter because it has known the abundance of autumn. It does not mourn the falling leaves because it knows the budding spring is already written into the roots of the trees. This perspective is the gift of experience, a quiet understanding that the world is governed by a beautiful and unchanging order. The chipmunk has lived through many such cycles, each one strengthening its connection to the earth and refining its instincts for survival. It has seen its young grow and depart, and it has seen the forest itself change as old trees fall and new ones reach for the light. In this endless cycle, the chipmunk finds a profound sense of belonging, a realization that it is a small but vital thread in the vast, interconnected tapestry of life. Its existence is a quiet celebration of the earth's resilience, a steady and peaceful presence in an ever-turning world, the beginning of old age. As the cycles continue to turn, the chipmunk begins to feel the subtle, gentle touch of time upon its own body. This is not a sudden change, but a slow softening of its once frenetic energy. The steps that were once explosive and rapid have become a fraction more deliberate and cautious. The golden stripes on its back, though still striking, may carry a few more silver hairs, and its dark eyes, while still sharp, hold a deeper, more contemplative stillness. This is the beginning of old age, a stage of life where observation begins to take precedence over action. The chipmunk spends longer periods sitting on its favorite sun-warmed root, simply watching the way the light filters through the maples or listening to the distant rustle of the wind. It still forages and maintains its burrow, but it does so with a calm, unhurried grace. It has nothing more to prove to the forest. It has mastered its world, and now it is content to simply be a part of it. There is a unique wisdom in this slowing down, a heightened awareness of the present moment, and a deeper appreciation for the simple comforts of a warm nest and a dry acorn. This transition is as natural and peaceful as the changing of the leaves in autumn. The chipmunk accepts this new rhythm with the same quiet resilience that has guided it through every other season of its life. In the golden light of its maturity, the tiny guardian moves through the forest with a serene and quiet heart, a living legacy of a life lived in perfect harmony with the timeless rhythms of the woodland floor. Slower, gentler steps. The once frenetic energy that defined the chipmunk's youth has gradually given way to a more measured and graceful tempo. There was a time when every movement was an explosive dash, a high-speed blur of stripes crossing the leaf litter in a frantic search for abundance. Now, in the twilight of its years, the chipmunk moves with a quiet, deliberate caution. Its steps are softer, placed with a seasoned precision that speaks of an intimate, lifelong conversation with the forest floor. It no longer feels the need to race against the shadows. Instead, it glides through the underbrush, its small paws finding the most stable roots and the quietest patches of moss. This slowing down is not a sign of weakness, but a manifestation of profound environmental wisdom. The old chipmunk has learned that haste often brings unnecessary risk. By moving slowly, it remains nearly invisible to the keen eyes of predators circling above. It pauses more frequently, not out of exhaustion, but to listen, really listen, to the subtle language of the woods. It feels the vibration of a distant footfall and the shift in the wind long before a younger, more hurried animal would notice. Its body, though less supple than it once was, is a finely tuned instrument of experience. There is a serene beauty in these gentler steps. They represent a life that has found its perfect rhythm, moving in total synchronization with the slow, ancient pulse of the earth itself. Every deliberate placement of a paw is a quiet celebration of a journey that has spanned many seasons and countless miles of woodland trails. Familiar food stores. For the elder chipmunk, the great autumn harvest is less of a frantic scramble and more of a familiar, comforting ritual. Over the years, it has discovered the most reliable and generous corners of its territory. It knows exactly which oak tree produces the sweetest, thinnest shelled acorns and which hazelnut thicket is the first to ripen. It no longer wastes energy exploring uncertain fringes of the woods. Instead, it focuses its efforts on these tried and true locations, navigating its well-worn paths with the ease of a scholar in a familiar library. Inside the burrow, its pantry is a masterpiece of lifelong organization. The chambers are filled with a collection of nuts and seeds that have been gathered with a discerning eye. The old chipmunk can tell the quality of a hickory nut simply by its weight and the faint scent of its shell. Its storage rooms are a source of great security and peace, a tangible record of its hard work and foresight. In these later years, the act of organizing its stores provides a soothing sense of order. It spends quiet hours in the cool darkness of the subterranean tunnels, nudging an acorn into place or tucking a cache of maple seeds into a dry corner. These familiar stores are more than just food. They are a promise of comfort for the months ahead. Surrounded by the scent of dry earth and cured nuts, the chipmunk feels a deep, settled contentment, knowing that its home is a fortress of abundance built on a foundation of years of knowledge, a lifetime of experience. Experience is the invisible armor of the aging chipmunk. Throughout its life, it has encountered every predator the forest has to offer, From the silent, shadow-like glide of the hawk to the persistent, low-slung hunt of the weasel. It has survived torrential summer storms that flooded the lowlands and bitter winter freezes that cracked the very stones of the earth. This lifetime of experience has granted it a level of calm that younger chipmunks have yet to achieve. It does not panic at the snap of a twig. Instead, it freezes, analyzes the sound, and determines its source with clinical accuracy. It understands the patterns of the forest, the way the bird's calls change when a fox is near, and the specific silence that precedes a heavy snowfall. This wisdom allows it to navigate the complexities of survival with a minimal amount of stress. It has become a master of the vanishing act, knowing the exact moment to slip into a crevice or dive beneath a root. There is a quiet dignity in this seasoned perspective. The old chipmunk is a living archive of the forest's history, carrying the memories of seasons past in its very bones. It moves with the assurance of one who has seen the world change and has always found a way to thrive within it. This experience is its greatest treasure, a silent guide that ensures its final years are lived with a profound and steady sense of peace. Longer periods of rest, as the sun climbs high in the afternoon sky, casting long, honey-colored rays across the forest floor, the old chipmunk finds increasing joy in the simple act of resting. In its youth, rest was merely a brief pause between tasks, a necessary but hurried recovery. Now, rest has become a cherished part of its daily rhythm. It seeks out the most comfortable spots, the top of a sun-warmed granite rock, a soft patch of dry pine needles, or the gentle curve of a thick maple root. Here, it sits in a state of quiet meditation, its body absorbing the warmth of the sun and the peaceful energy of the woods. Its naps are longer and deeper, filled with the soft, rhythmic sounds of the forest. Inside the burrow, its nesting chamber has been refined over the years to provide the ultimate in subterranean comfort. The bedding is deep and soft, a mix of the finest shredded bark and the driest moss, offering a warm and insulating cradle. During these periods of rest, the chipmunk's mind seems to drift in a peaceful current, untethered from the urgent demands of foraging. It is a time for the body to heal and for the spirit to remain connected to the tranquil heartbeat of the earth. This restful existence is a beautiful reward for a lifetime of activity, a gentle transition where the guardian finds solace in the stillness, knowing that its work is largely complete and its legacy is secure in the world above. Watching the forest from its favorite vantage point atop a moss-covered log, the elder chipmunk spends hours simply watching the forest go by. Its dark eyes, though perhaps a bit softer now, still miss very little. It watches the young chipmunks, perhaps its own descendants, as they engage in their first frantic scrambles across the leaf litter, their movements a mirror of its own long-ago youth. It observes the slow, majestic growth of the trees it has lived alongside for years, noticing the way a new branch reaches for the light or how a fallen trunk slowly returns to the soil. There is a deep, philosophical quality to this observation. The chipmunk sees the forest not as a collection of separate parts, but as a single, living, breathing entity of which it is an inseparable part. It feels the arrival of the seasons in the shifting light and the changing scents of the air. It witnesses the endless dance of life and death, growth and decay, with a quiet, unshakable acceptance. This watching is a form of communion, a way of honoring the beauty and complexity of the home that has sustained it. In these quiet moments of contemplation, the chipmunk finds a profound sense of belonging. It is no longer just an inhabitant of the forest, it is a witness to its eternal story. The peace it feels is a reflection of the forest's own timeless tranquility, a serene connection that transcends the individual and touches the infinite. The final winter. As the air grows thin and cold and the first snowflakes begin to dance through the bare branches, the old chipmunk prepares for what will be its final winter. This preparation is done with a quiet, solemn grace. It tidies its burrow one last time, ensuring that the tunnels are clear and the nesting chamber is as warm and comfortable as possible. Its pantry is full, a testament to its lifelong skill and the forest's final autumn generosity. There is no fear in these preparations, only a sense of rightness and completion. The chipmunk moves slowly through its subterranean halls, touching the familiar earth walls and settling into its soft bed with a deep, weary sigh. Outside, the world is disappearing under a thick, white blanket of snow, and the great silence of winter is taking hold. Inside the burrow, the air is still and warm. The chipmunk curls into its tightest, most comfortable ball, its nose tucked safely under its tail. As it enters its state of torpor, it does so with a heart full of peace. The cycles of its life, the springs of birth, the summers of abundance, and the autumns of harvest have all been lived to their fullest. Now, it is time for the final rest. The earth cradles its tiny inhabitant with a gentle, ancient embrace, protecting it from the freezing winds above. In this deep, subterranean sanctuary, the old guardian drifts into a sleep that is as profound and peaceful as the forest itself, its journey coming to a quiet and beautiful close in the heart of the earth. A gentle breeze. The late autumn air is thin and crisp, carrying a clarity that only comes when the humidity of summer has finally surrendered. A gentle breeze, born in the high peaks of the north, begins to move through the skeletal branches of the oaks and maples. It doesn't howl or roar, it whispers, a long, cooling sigh that ripples across the forest floor. As it travels, it picks up the sense of a world preparing for rest, the aromatic perfume of crushed pine needles, the deep, musky odor of damp soil, and the dry, papery scent of fallen leaves. To the elder chipmunk, sitting at the edge of its burrow entrance, this breeze is a familiar messenger. It carries the news of the coming frost and the deep quiet that will soon settle over the land. The little guardian raises its nose, its whiskers twitching softly as it samples the air. This breeze is different from the playful gusts of spring or the heavy, humid winds of July. It is a steady, purposeful current that feels like a cooling touch against its fur. The chipmunk feels the temperature drop a fraction of a degree, a subtle shift that signals the time for active labor has passed. The world is slowing down, and the breeze is the conductor of this final, seasonal movement. There is no urgency in the wind, only a rhythmic, soothing flow that encourages everything to settle. The chipmunk closes its eyes for a moment, letting the cool air wash over its face, feeling a deep, instinctual peace with the turning of the tide. In this gentle breeze, the forest speaks of completion and the soft, inevitable descent into a well-earned stillness. Dancing leaves. As the sun hangs low and golden in the afternoon sky, the forest floor becomes a stage for one of nature's most delicate performances. With every soft pulse of the wind, a shower of leaves, bright as coins of gold and deep as embers, detaches from the branches above. They do not fall in straight lines, they dance. They spiral and twirl, catching the light like flickering flames before settling softly onto the growing carpet of color. The chipmunk watches this silent ballet with a quiet, unblinking gaze. It sees a single maple leaf, brilliant crimson, catch a draft and glide halfway across the clearing before coming to rest on a mossy stone. The sound is a magnificent, soft rustle, a million tiny paper-thin voices whispering together as they are moved by the air. To the old chipmunk, these dancing leaves are not a sign of death, but of a beautiful transition. They are returning to the earth, just as everything eventually does, to nourish the roots that will bring forth next year's green. chipmunk notices how the light plays through the thinning canopy, creating long, dramatic shadows that move in sync with the falling leaves. The forest floor is no longer just brown earth. It is a shimmering mosaic of texture and hue. This movement is slow and hypnotic, a visual lullaby that softens the sharp edges of the world. In the dance of the leaves, the chipmunk sees the reflection of its own long journey, a series of graceful movements, a few quiet tumbles, and a final, peaceful resting place in the soft embrace of the woodland floor. One final journey. The elder chipmunk decides to take one last walk through the territory it has known for so many years. It is not a walk of hunger or of work, but of quiet remembrance. With slow, deliberate steps, it leaves the shelter of its burrow and moves toward a large, silver-barked birch tree. This was where it found its first catch of seeds as a young juvenile. It pauses there, feeling the rough texture of the bark beneath its paws. From there, it moves toward the red boulder that serves its favorite sunning spot during long, hot summer's prime. The moss is thick and soft, holding the last remains of the day's warmth. The chipmunk scampers, more of a gentle trot now, to the edge of the creek where the water is low and clear, moving slowly over smooth, gray pebbles. It drinks one final time, the water cold and refreshing. Every spot it visits is a chapter in its story. It passes the thicket where it once outran a fox and the hollow log where it weathered a terrible thunderstorm. There is no fear in this journey, only a profound sense of gratitude and familiarity. The forest feels more like home than ever before. The paths are worn not just into the ground, but into the chipmunk's very spirit. It is a quiet farewell to the stones, the roots, and shadows that have been its companions. The journey is short in distance, but vast in memory, a peaceful closing of the circle as the twilight begins to deepen. The body grows still. As the chipmunk returns toward its burrow, it feels a profound and heavy tiredness settling into its muscles. It is not the sharp ache of injury, but the deep, natural weariness of a clock that has ticked for many years and is finally ready to stop. Its heart, one rapid, drumming pulse that could outpace the fastest insect, has slowed to steady, rhythmic thrum, the heartbeat of a resting world. The chipmunk finds a comfortable spot nestled between two thick, ancient roots of an oak tree, just a few feet from its burrow entrance. The earth here is soft, covered in a thick layer of dry, fragrant leaves that provide a warm and insulating bed. It settles its weight into the hollow of the roots, feeling the sturdy, unmoving strength of the tree supporting its small frame. Its breathing becomes slow and shallow, matching the quiet rise and fall of the forest's own respiration. The coldness of the evening air no longer bothers it. Instead, it feels like a cooling blanket, drawing the heat away from its tired limbs. The chipmunk's body is returning its energy to the system that sustained it for so long. There is a sense of immense relief and stillness, a surrender to the full gravity and ancient calls to the soil. The world around it gets blurred into a soft, monochromatic gray, and the tiny guardian finds comfort in the knowledge that it no longer needs to run, or climb, or hide. It has reached the end of its physical labor, and the stillness is a welcome and beautiful gift. The forest lives on. Even as tiny guardian grows still, the forest around it continues its grand, eternal symphony. High in the canopy, a blue jay lets out a final, ringing call before tucking its head beneath its wing. A gray squirrel scampers across a distant log, its tail a silver flash in the fading light, busily hiding one last acorn for the winter. The trees themselves continue their slow, silent work, drawing the last of the season's nutrients down into their deep, sprawling roots. The forest does not stop. It simply shifts its focus. The chipmunk is aware of this continuity, sensing the vibrant life that surrounds it, even as its own pulse grows faint. It is not a loss, but a beautiful handoff. The seeds the chipmunk forgot to eat will sprout into new saplings in the spring. The burrow it dug so carefully will one day provide shelter for another creature seeking safety from the storm. Its very body will eventually become part of the rich, dark loam that feeds the wildflowers. This realization brings a final, crowning sense of peace. To be part of the forest is to be part of something that never truly ends. The wind continues to rustle the leaves, and the creek continues to sing to the stones. The legacy of the tiny guardian is written in the health of the soil and the thickness of the undergrowth. The forest lives on, and in its enduring beauty, the chipmunk finds its own immortality, a quiet thread woven forever into the tapestry of the wild. The journey comes to an end. The final light of day disappears behind the western ridge, leaving the forest in a deep, velvet twilight. The stars begin to emerge, pinpricks of silver light shining through the bare branches of the trees. The chipmunk's eyes, once so bright and vigilant, now close for the final time. It draws in one last, long breath, a sigh that carries the scent of the autumn woods and the promise of the coming snow. There is no pain, no fear, only a seamless transition from the active world of the living to the quiet, dreamless sleep of the earth. In this moment, the boundary between the chipmunk and the forest floor dissolves completely. The tiny guardian has completed its watch. It has seen the springs, the summers, and the autumns, and it has played its part with diligence and grace. The great ancient oaks stand tall above it, their roots cradling the small body in a final, sturdy embrace. The forest floor, with its blanket of gold and crimson leaves, becomes its final resting place, a sanctuary of peace in the heart of the world it loved. As the first frost of the night begins to form a delicate, crystalline lace over the moss and the stones, the journey of the chipmunk comes to a quiet and beautiful end. The woodland is silent, draped in the majesty of the night, holding the memory of a small, striped life that was lived in perfect harmony with the earth. Beneath the vast, starry sky, the forest rests, and within its deep, dark heart, the tiny guardian sleeps in eternal and undisturbed peace. The young have grown, while the forest floor may have said a quiet farewell to one of its long-term residents. The pulse of life within the woodland never falters. Across the acre of trees and stones, the offspring of the tiny guardian have transitioned into their own seasons of strength. They are no longer the fragile, blind pups that once huddled together for warmth in the dark safety of the maternal nest. Now they are sleek, muscular, and vibrant juveniles, their stripes bold and distinct against their reddish-brown coats. Each has claimed its own corner of the woods, having learned the invaluable lessons of survival through observation and instinct. They navigate the same mossy logs and granite outcrops with a speed and agility that honors their lineage. To look at them is to see the previous guardian reborn, the same inquisitive tilt of the head, the same rapid, rhythmic flick of the tail, and the same dark, watchful eyes scanning the canopy for shadows. They have become the new masters of the understory, weaving their own secret paths through the fallen leaves. The transition from dependency to independence was a quiet, natural graduation, a shifting of responsibility that ensures the chipmunk's role in the ecosystem remains filled. As they forage for the last of the autumn seeds, their presence is a living testament to the resilience of life. The individual may depart, but the essence of the creature, its energy, its habits, and its vital spirit continues to thrive in the bodies of those it left behind. New food stores. In the burrows surrounding the old home, a new industrious energy takes hold. The younger generation is now fully engaged in the great work of the harvest, their movements sharp and purposeful, They are building their own legacies, one seed at a time. The sound of their labor is a constant, comforting background noise in the autumn woods, the light scritch of claws on bark and the dry rustle of leaves as they uncover hidden treasures. Each young chipmunk has spent the final weeks of the season filling its own subterranean pantries, packing its cheek pouches until they stretch with the weight of potential survival. Inside these new chambers, the organization is just as meticulous as it was in the generations before. Acorns are sorted by size, seeds are kept in dry alcoves, and bedding is fluffed to a perfect, insulating thickness. These food stores represent the bridge between the abundance of the past and the uncertainty of the future. The young ones do not know they are following an ancient blueprint. They simply feel the deep, instinctual drive to prepare. As they seal their entrances against the rising chill, they sit amidst a wealth of forest bounty, safe and secure in the knowledge that they have provided for themselves. The earth is once again a repository of life, its deep tunnels filled with the fuel that will carry the forest's quietest residents through the cold months. This cycle of gathering is a perpetual motion machine of nature, ensuring that the pantry is never truly empty for long. The return of spring, winter's silence eventually breaks, shattered by the gentle but persistent warmth of a returning sun. The snow that once blanketed the final resting place of the old guardian thaws into the soil, carrying nutrients deep into the roots of the forest. And with the thaw comes the inevitable return of spring. The air is suddenly filled with the scent of wet earth and the clear, ringing calls of chickadees. It is a moment of profound déjà vu for the woodland. The scene is exactly as it has been for millions of years. From a burrow tucked beneath the roots of an ancient oak, perhaps the very same burrow that has served so many generations, a small, striped head emerges. It is a new chipmunk, vibrant and full of the restless energy of youth. It blinks in the bright, silver light of the spring morning, its nose twitching as it registers the awakening world. This emergence is the forest's answer to the winter's rest. The green shoots of trout lilies and spring beauties begin to pierce through the leaf litter, and the trees start their slow, majestic unfurling of new leaves. For the new resident, the world is a fresh and undiscovered country, full of mystery and promise. The return of spring is the ultimate reset, a washing away of the old and a celebration of the new, proving that the light will always find its way back to the forest floor. The forest they have always known to the new generation of chipmunks. The forest floor is a playground of ancient stability. The grand oaks and maples that tower above them are the same guardians that watched over their ancestors. The moss-covered rocks in the winding creek have not changed their positions, offering the same vantage points and the same refreshing waters. Though individual lives within the woods come and go like the leaves on the trees, the map of the forest remains remarkably consistent. The chipmunks navigate this landscape with an inherited familiarity, as if the locations of every hollow log and escape hatch were etched into their very DNA. They use the same landmarks to guide their foraging runs, and they seek out the same shaded routes for their midday rests. This continuity provides a deep sense of security. The forest is not a chaotic wilderness, but a well-ordered home where every element has a purpose. The stones provide shelter, the trees provide food, and the earth provides a sanctuary. As the young chipmunks scamper through the underbrush, they are participating in a timeless relationship with their environment. They belong to this soil and this sky, fitting perfectly into the niches left for them. The forest they have always known is a sanctuary of tradition, where the patterns of life are repeated with a beautiful and comforting regularity, ensuring that no resident ever feels like a stranger in their own home. A cycle without end. Nature is a master of recycling, a system where nothing is truly lost, only transformed. The life of the tiny guardian who passed away in the autumn has already begun to feed the beginning of many new stories. The nutrients from its body have been absorbed by the soil, fueling the growth of the very oak that will drop next year's acorns. The burrow it abandoned has already been investigated by a young traveler seeking a pre-made fortress. This is the circle of life in its most practical and peaceful form. It is a cycle without end, a continuous loop of energy that ensures the forest remains a vibrant and self-sustaining community. There is no tragedy in this cycle, only a profound and rhythmic logic. The end of one life is the direct catalyst for the success of another. This interconnectedness is the true magic of the woods. Every rustle in the leaves and every chirp in the morning air is a link in a chain that stretches back through the ages and forward into the unknown future. The chipmunks are the small, busy gears in this great machine, their daily efforts contributing to the overall health and vitality of the woodland. As they move through their lives, they are part of a grander design that values persistence and adaptation. The cycle turns with a quiet, unstoppable force, a beautiful carousel of existence where the music never stops and the dancers are always renewed by the spirit of the earth. A new generation begins. The stage is now fully set for the next chapter of the woodland story. In the quiet clearings and the deep, shaded glens, the new generation of chipmunks is beginning its first true breeding season. The air is once again filled with the rhythmic, pulsing chirps of males seeking mates and the playful, high-speed chases through the undergrowth. A young female, having found a secure burrow beneath a cluster of wild ferns, is already preparing her nesting chamber with the softest moss and the finest shredded bark. She moves with a focused, maternal intensity that mirrors her mother and her grandmother before her. Deep within the earth, the first signs of a new litter are appearing, tiny, hidden pulses of life that will soon become the next group of striped explorers. The continuity of the species is assured. The forest floor is humming with the potential of these new lives, a vibrant energy that balances the quiet rest of the previous year. As the sun sets on another beautiful spring day, the new guardians of the forest floor take up their posts. They are ready to be the seed gatherers, the warning callers, and the subterranean architects of the future. The legacy of the tiny guardian is not just a memory, it is a living, breathing reality, manifesting in every twitch of a whisker and every dash through the leaves. A new generation has truly begun, and the forest watches over them with the same ancient, silent grace it has always shown. First sound of morning. The forest is held in the fragile, silver light of a spring dawn. High above, the very tips of the white pines catch the first golden rays of the sun, turning them into shimmering spires against a pale violet sky. The air is perfectly still, cool and laden with the scent of waking hemlocks and the sweet, sharp aroma of damp earth. Then, the silence is broken by a sound so subtle it might be mistaken for a falling petal. It is a soft, dry rustle, a crisp scritch of a tiny claw against a piece of bark, followed by the light, rhythmic shifting of last year's copper-colored leaves. This is the first sound of the morning, the acoustic signal that the woodland floor is coming alive. It is a sound of immense purpose and delicate weight. Beneath the arching root of a grand old oak, a small disturbance ripples through the leaf litter. To a wandering beetle or a perched robin, this sound is familiar. It is the heartbeat of the understory. The rustle pauses, allowing the forest's natural symphony of bird calls to fill the gap, and then it resumes with a confident, busy energy. In this quiet moment of transition, the forest floor is no longer a static landscape, but a stage. This tiny, persistent sound is the announcement that a new journey is beginning, a fresh pulse of life stirring in the secret, dark places beneath the trees, ready to greet the day with a quiet and ancient resolve. A young chipmunk emerges from the burrow from the clean circular opening of a tunnel hidden beneath a patch of emerald green moss. A small, striped face appears. Two dark, glossy eyes, bright with the fire of youth and curiosity, blink in the sudden brilliance of the morning light. The young chipmunk pauses at the threshold, its nose twitching rapidly as it catalogs the vibrant chemical signatures of the spring air, the scent of rain-washed stone, the perfume of early violets, and the distant, musky trail of a passing deer. After weeks of living in the dim, familiar safety of the subterranean world, the scale of the forest floor is breathtaking. With a cautious but steady movement, the young guardian pulls itself out of the hole. Its coat is flawless, the 5 dark and golden stripes running down its back with a sharp, geometric precision. Its tail, a soft plume of gray and tan, flicks once, twice, testing the air for balance. This is its first true solo emergence, a rite of passage into the vast, sun-dappled world of its ancestors. It stands perfectly still for a long moment, a tiny, vibrant statue against the dark soil, feeling the cool morning breeze ruffle its fur. This is the moment where instinct and reality meet. The young chipmunk is no longer a guest in the burrow. It is now an inhabitant of the light, a small but vital presence ready to take its place in the endless, beautiful drama of the temperate woods. Sunlight through the branches. As the sun climbs higher, the thick canopy of the forest acts as a great, living prism, breaking the light into 1,000 dancing spears of gold. These beams pierce the shadows of the understory, illuminating the forest floor in dramatic, shifting patches of brilliance. One such beam finds the young chipmunk, setting its golden stripes aflame and casting a tiny, sharp shadow on the mossy ground. The sunlight carries a gentle, life-giving warmth that seeps through the cool fur and into the small muscles beneath, fueling them with the energy needed for the day's adventures. In this light, the forest becomes a masterpiece of texture and color. The vibrant greens of the emerging ferns, the deep grays of the weathered granite, and the rich browns of the decaying logs are all rendered in vivid detail. The young chipmunk watches as dust motes dance in the light, and a single, bright-winged butterfly flutters through a sunbeam. This play of light and shadow is more than just beauty. It is the map by which the chipmunk will live. It learns to move from shadow to shadow, using the light to find the best seeds and the darkness to remain unseen. The sunlight is a silent companion, a warm hand on its back that guides it through the complexities of the woodland day, turning the forest floor into a radiant sanctuary where every leaf is a gem and every stone is a throne. The beginning of a new adventure. With a sudden, energetic burst, the young chipmunk launches itself forward, beginning its first true adventure. It doesn't just walk, it flows across the landscape with a joyful, zigzagging speed. It leaps over a fallen branch, its small paws finding effortless purchase on the rough bark. It scampers up the side of a mossy rock, pausing at the peak to survey its new kingdom with a look of intense, quiet concentration. Everything is a discovery. A dry acorn cap becomes an object of investigation. A scurrying ant is watched with wide-eyed wonder. The chipmunk is learning the geography of its home, the way the creek bends, the locations of the hollow logs, and the taste of the different seeds scattered among the leaves. Each dash and pause is a lesson in survival and a celebration of life. There is a profound sense of play in its movements, a lightness of spirit that reflects the blossoming energy of the spring season. This is the adventure of a lifetime, a journey of 1,000 tiny steps that will eventually lead to the wisdom of maturity. As it explores the boundaries of its world, the young chipmunk is writing the first lines of its own history, its small, striped form a symbol of the forest's enduring vitality and its endless capacity for renewal. The forest comes alive. As the morning progresses, the entire forest floor reaches a crescendo of activity. The chipmunk is not alone in its awakening. All around it, the woodland community is busy with the work of spring. A pair of wood thrushes forage in the leaf litter nearby, their melodic whistles harmonizing with the rhythmic chirping of other chipmunks in the distance. A garter snake slides silently through a patch of dry grass, its scales glinting like jewels in the sun. The air is thick with the hum of bees and the soft, constant rustle of life in the undergrowth. The forest is a vibrant, interconnected web, and the tiny guardian feels its place within it. Every action it takes, every seed it buries, every warning chirp it emits, and every tunnel it digs contributes to the health and balance of this grand ecosystem. The forest responds in kind, providing the shelter of its roots and the bounty of its branches. There is a magnificent, unhurried order to this bustle, even as the wind picks up, swaying the tops of the ancient hemlocks. The world at the ground level remains a sanctuary of focused existence. The young chipmunk watches a squirrel leap from a high branch, marveling at the scale of the heights, yet finds its own satisfaction in the intricate textures of the soil. This living tapestry is a testament to the resilience of nature, a place where every creature, no matter how small, plays an essential and honored role in the ongoing story of the wild. A peaceful ending beneath the spring sky, as the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, painting the clouds in shades of soft apricot and pale rose. A profound sense of peace settles over the woodland. The frantic energy of the morning has softened into a quiet, contented evening glow. The young chipmunk, its first day of independent adventure complete, finds a high vantage point on a sun-warmed oak root. It sits quietly, its small chest rising and falling in a steady, calm rhythm, watching as the shadows stretch long and blue across the forest floor. The birds begin their final, hushed evening songs, a gentle lullaby that signals the coming of the night. The sky above is an endless, cooling expanse, soon to be filled with the first silver stars. The young guardian feels a deep, instinctual satisfaction. It has found food, explored its boundaries, and stayed safe. It knows its way back to the warm, dark sanctuary of the burrow, where a bed of soft leaves waits. The circle of life, which began millions of years ago and was carried forward by the tiny guardian who came before, is now firmly in its own capable paws. The forest floor is at rest, wrapped in the soft embrace of the spring twilight. In this final, quiet moment of the day, the story of the chipmunk reaches a point of beautiful and timeless completion. The world is safe, the cycles are turning as they should, and beneath the vast, watchful sky, the tiny guardian closes its eyes, drifting into a peaceful and undisturbed sleep, ready to wake to the promise of 1,000 new dawns.